And we're live. Hello. Happy Friday to everybody who's in watching tonight. How is everybody doing? Hope everybody is good. Welcome in. We'll give people a quick chance to join in before we say hello to our guests and our co-hosts. We'll do a little quick catch up with the chat. We got Kulchi in from I don't know what time today, all hours today. King Dola is in. What's going on? We've got King Dola and Kulchi had a whole thing going on before the thing even started. What are you owing about?
King Dola.
Oh, King Dola. Poké Nation Aaron is in. What's going on, Aaron? My wife is in from the other room. Appreciate that. Shane and maybe Amber is in. Thank you on the 1K subs. I appreciate that. Thank you, Aaron. King Dola, is the logo meant to be a Pokeball? Yes, it is. TCG Sean is in. What's happening, Sean? Evan is in. Darren White is in. What's going on, Darren? Good to see you. Phantom Pulls is in. We've got Phantom won't be active in the chat. He's focusing on Man United. That's fine as long as we win. No hassle at all. All right, guys, as usual, we'll try take some questions during the podcast if possible. We want to give our time and attention to our guest. We will give time at the end for questions then. So Beyond the Packs episode 19. Welcome back to our co-hosts, Jimmy from Kellyog's Cards and Ron Collects. Good evening, fellas.
Hello.
And then we have our guest from Soccer Cards United, Atlanta Collectables, Dublin Card Show. There could be other things I don't know.
That's what I mean for you.
Largest card show in the country. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, card shop on the island. We have Enzo from all of those. Enzo, welcome and thank you for joining. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. That was a hello. Really appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. Missing the United match as well, but it's all right.
I know.
The chat will keep us up to date.
I do have my phone sitting right in front of me for the scores.
How many wins in a row now? Is it 3?
6? No, it's not. Yeah, it's. I think they won 6 of the last 7. But no, they haven't. Your man's not getting his hair cut yet.
He's not cutting that hair, is he?
He needs to just chop it. I think just get it done. Like he's like even the players are like, please just stop annoying us with that thing.
Sick of him.
Get rid of it. Honestly. Any. No wind-ups in the chat, by the way. Any legit score updates are appreciated. Don't be trying to annoy us and saying, "Oh, you're not losing 2-0." People tend to do that. But yeah, we'll. This should be your priority for tonight. I'm a diehard Man United fan, but tonight this is your priority. So if you're United on in the background, turn the volume down and listen to us. No, genuinely, Enzo, it's a big deal having you on. We really appreciate it. This is going to be a fun chat. We were all secretly like, oh my God, Dublin Card Show said yes to coming on the podcast. This is unbelievable. Yeah. So we are very, very grateful to have you on. We should have a nice chat. Straight away, some of the things we have in common. Dublin Card Show. We like to spend a lot of money on cardboard. However, we're on very different sides of the hobby. So we should have a fun conversation. You are part of a 2-man act. There's yourself and Jason. You've been nominated to sit in the hot seat tonight, so get ready for a grilling for about an hour.
I'm ready. If I need to avoid any questions, I'll blame Jason. I'm not sure.
I think Jason did say he might be in the chat, so you can take that 30-second pause and wait for the hints to come in through the chat. Enzo, do you want to just give us a bit of a... You don't have to go into your life story, yours or Jason's, or just the whole Soccer Cards United, whatever. If you want to just give us a brief background before we kind of speak on what's been happening these days.
Yeah, I'll keep it like relative to the kind of cardboard background. I'll keep my personal life personal, but I definitely like as a kid. I'll start where it all began. As a kid, I very much was in the Pokemon sphere, specifically with the anime and the Game Boy games, and I did naturally, as any kid does, end up with loads of cards. And naturally, those ones never made it to adolescence, unfortunately. I still have my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which is a bittersweet because the Pokemon cards are the ones that were valuable. But Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. So I very much liked cards as a kid, and as anyone would have done, I would have gone into Smith's and bought whatever was there kind of thing. So Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards were what I kind of grew up on. Fell out of it, as I grew older, kept with the kind of Game Boy games and certain in terms of the kind of Pokemon side of things, all the way up to Gen 4. So I'm well versed Gen 1 to Gen 4. After that, it's all I feel like an adult. I feel like an out of touch adult. I was like, I don't know what all these Pokemon are. But the first 4 generations I have a good handle on, mostly through the video games. And then pretty much during COVID, is when the kind of sports cards kind of caught me. Again, World Cup albums as a kid, etc. I would have done as well, Match Attack, stuff like that. But it wasn't until kind of COVID hit and I was kind of in the house feeling nostalgic as many people did. And I think both the sports card and kind of Pokemon industry had big booms, kind of nostalgic booms in that period of time. I went looking for my Pokemon cards, couldn't find them, ended up kind of discovering sports cards, which kind of just led to starting a podcast, which is Soccer Cards United, the first kind of brand that we essentially launched. And then through that, it just so happened that there was a really, really big kind of European sports card movement at that point in time. For kind of context, there was a few kind of dotted out sets throughout the years, but very much the 2014 World Cup was the first time we really got kind of premium soccer cards that kind of would have been in line with kind of baseball cards and stuff like that, which are huge in the States. And it wasn't until kind of COVID, which was just after kind of the 2018 World Cup, kind of there was another kind of boom in soccer that kind of didn't hit Europe fully. And then 2020 pretty much is when it did. So there was this kind of soccer cards were very new. Europeans were discovering it, and then I basically had discovered it myself and had nobody to talk to about it. I kind of hooked Jason in and said, come on, just talk to me about this. And I kind of got him involved. He immediately kind of converted after a while. And then we started a podcast to essentially find more people we could talk to about this thing or educate people about it. That led into a business. We started getting access to buying and selling boxes. We had a website. Then card shows start booming as soon as COVID stopped. So we started attending card shows all over Europe and the UK. And off the back of that, we ended up going, this would be great in Ireland. I wonder if we could do that in Ireland. And then we did the Dublin card show, which is the 3rd year of it, just ended last month. And then after all of that kind of all those years, about 6 years deep in, we had enough product to basically say we should open a physical shop. That was kind of the natural progression. So that's kind of where Soccer Cards United was a kind of a podcast. Dublin Card Show was our first kind of event. And then Atlantic Collectables, because we don't just sell soccer cards. As things develop, we ended up with basketball, football, everything. We then had to launch a shop. And upon launching a shop, we also, as you can see in the background here, upon launching a shop, we're not idiots. We said we're going to need Pokemon in this shop. So we never sold Pokemon online. We bought a lot of sealed, but we didn't ever have it available for sale. We knew once we had a physical brick and mortar, we needed Pokemon, because you can't put card shop above the door and expect people to not walk in looking for Pokemon. So we're not crazy. So that's kind of how those 3 kind of brand names or companies kind of came to be.
It's I think it's definitely going to be a theme throughout this episode, is the Pokemon. I don't want to say versus sports, but that contrast, that difference and similarities. Because already,
Yu-Gi-Oh was mentioned.
Anyway,
twinkle in your eye.
We will give you your time to talk about. I know you got excited there about the Yu-Gi-Oh conversation, Jimmy.
I always do.
But there's already a similarity, like when you talk about the COVID time, because I feel like, not myself, but I know a lot of people use COVID to get back into Pokemon as well. So already there's that similar. You did, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
So already there's that.
I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh and code, yeah.
There you go. So already there's that kind of. There's still a card collecting hobby, at the end of the day. So it was Soccer Cards United podcast, then the Dublin Card Show, then Atlantic Collectables physical card show. If you don't mind, I'd love to just jump straight to the good stuff. Can we jump straight to the Dublin Card Show? Can we?
Yeah. You've immediately done this more. Oh no.
Let's go straight to the Dublin Card Show.
Yeah.
Right. Year 3.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of how and why you guys thought of doing a card show, and then how it's grown over the last 3?
Yeah. So we were essentially, again, as I said, like we traveled everywhere. Again, Ireland, despite the fact, like after 1 or 2 years of kind of doing our own podcast, collecting cards, Ireland hadn't really developed. It was very much slower going for sports cards. So the only way we could really buy, sell, trade was to get on a plane and go to where it was happening, which very much the UK, London, Germany, and just Europe in general, anywhere kind of a show popped up, we went to it. So we kind of had a really strong year and a half of literally almost becoming platinum members with Aer Lingus because of how much we were flying. It was like, this is insane. And we got to a point where anytime any show popped up, people just expected us to be there. Like, you're going to come to my show in Scotland, aren't you? And I was like, I guess I am, maybe, you know. We were just attending them everywhere, and it just happened that like a lot of the vendors, the same way you'd have here now with the amount of shows that are on it, the vendors will do the vendor circuit. So when we were going to, you know, Germany or to London or to Scotland, we were seeing the exact same people every single time we did that, and just we're building relationships and, you know, making friends basically along the way. And a lot of these people would have been people we would have engaged with on Instagram, etc., and done deals with or knew about or knew of. In our case, some people were listening to our podcast and stuff like that. And we essentially got bullied by predominantly the English. We're basically saying, when are you doing it in Dublin? Like, when can we all go to Dublin? You know, when are you, come on, what are you doing? And we were like, yeah, you know, we kind of flirted with the idea, but we kind of knew for sports, the domestic market really wasn't there. So it's like, you can't really host a show if there's no vendors and there's not that many, you know, people that are going to be attendees, which has changed dramatically since. But we kind of delayed it for a while. And then when we did year one, it was very much, we had been kind of pressured enough, and we had done a few like trade nights and stuff. There started to be like an Irish sports card community. We did some trade nights in hotels in Dublin and stuff like that. We were getting inundated with messages, people buying on our website. So we'd see like Irish sales are now picking up on our website for sports, and it was really, really interesting. And it got to a point from knowing all the customers by name to no longer knowing them by name. Be like, okay, we're growing. So yeah, we decided we're going to do it. We had seen kind of in other countries, so many shows were popping up. It was getting very kind of competitive and stuff, and there would be kind of value in trying to be one of the first shows to kind of pop up the way that the London show had done and really grew. And we just thought Dublin was kind of ready for a big show. And so we pretty much, maybe one of the craziest things we kind of ever did was decide year one was going to be in the convention center, because that was like a big swing. That was very much a build it and hopefully they go, because I don't know if they're here. They are.
Sounds like it was instantly going to be big though.
Yeah, but that's it. Like, we kind of had to lean on the venue. We had to kind of lean on, this will be big. This will be, you know, somewhat premium. This will be good. Again, and we did it with a long-term approach. We're like, even if it costs a fortune year one and we lose our shirts, this is the way we're going to do it. Like, we kind of had it as like, that's the venue we wanted to end up in. And we just kind of said, let's start there, which was a bit crazy, a little bit insane, but we did it. Year one was a great success. Like, we had a really, really good time of it. Hugely different to what it subsequently became. But I remember we knew, again, from being to card shows all over Europe, we knew like Pokemon was huge. But I remember like year one, we had to almost convince Pokemon vendors to come, because we did have that kind of sports stench on us. You know, people were like, I remember even like Pokemundles, like Tony, one of the biggest ones, and we had a good relationship with him. We had met him at, I think, a Comic-Con, and he had bought some Pokemon boxes off us that we had. And I remember asking him, like, listen, table's there up until the day before you can come. Like, we want you there. We think you'll actually be good. Like, we're like, although we are sports, the attendees very much are going to be looking for Pokemon. And he came, he was a late edition. He came and he had a great time and has been back ever since each year. But it was like tough. Year one was tough in terms of, because like you had nothing to kind of lean on. So it was very much like, I promise you it's going to be good. I promise you, come on. Like, let's just do it. It's going to be good. You know, so we made like the tables cheap, the attendees, like we did everything as cheap as we could, just because it was, you know, first run of that. I think we had about 1,200 people there year one. The majority of which bought their tickets week of, pretty much. You know, it was high stress. I've never been more stressed, to a point where I had like physical pains just through the stress of doing it. Truly atrocious, like horrible experience. I very much prefer attending shows than not. But having completed 20 year one, like we wanted to do once a year, especially because we were like, the sports hobby's not here yet in Ireland, and if we give it another year, they'll start to kind of get there. And we've seen that in the second year, where it was, we had sold more than double the amount of tickets. I think it was about 2,600 from 1,200, and it was smooth sailing, very easy to do. We'd done this before, super easy, and unfortunately that led to a lot of problems. You know, we had seen, you know, double the ticket sales, but we didn't think, what's that going to look like on the day? You know, Pokemon happened to have, I believe, a super boom like the week of the show, which didn't help us. And that led to absolute bedlam and a lot of pinch points in the room year two. And I remember walking in the morning of year two, and all the tables, there was not a lot of space between the tables because the venue laid them out the day before. And I walked in and I was like, oh my God, this is not good. You need to start moving and I was trying to move the tables, and it was like, there's no time. We didn't have like the manpower year two. It was like, no time to fix this. We're just going to have to hope everything goes well. And there was a lot of choke points because there was a lot of kind of Pokemon vendors facing each other, and it became bedlam. But apart from that, it was a great show. None of the vendors really complained. They all had smiles on their faces. They had a great day. And then year three, we waited. Yeah, exactly. So we waited another year. Year three, Pokemon had continued to be strong, and sports had really popped off. Like, we had opened the shop in November. Our show was February, so we opened the shop in November. And that really, that's important because, like, we started to get immediate feedback. Like, we seen so many people coming into the shop buying sports, and we're like, this is super, super healthy right now. And then so we did the 2 floors year three just gone, because we needed a way to get people kind of to flow through the building a bit better, because this year we had sold 4,500 tickets. And then adding in the vendors with vendor passes, it was 5,000 people in the building. So it was an insane endeavor, but super, super smooth. We had a small hiccup with some VIPs at the very, very start, I believe. I wasn't at the door, but I had heard about that. And then I'm pretty sure everyone's ticket showed the show times and not their entry time. So I think that led to some trouble. But thankfully it was everyone's ticket just said 9 a.m. or 9:15. I was like, oh no, this is not good. But it was a beautiful sunny day in Dublin, and as soon as the doors opened proper, it was flow motion. It was super smooth. We didn't really run into any issues at all. So we basically that's how it happened. We kind of started it and let the hobby grow year by year, and with that the show. And we do, thankfully, through having a lot of kind of connections through traveling around the place, we have a huge international influx at our show. And we've had people from Toronto and from LA fly in 3 years in a row to vend at our show, which is insane. And again, one of the benefits of once a year, it's becoming a bit of a can't really miss event for guys in the UK or Germany or in the States, which is, incredible to have kind of an international show in Ireland.
So the first one was just like, just put the sign out and hope that people come.
We had the international, kind of our international friends who did all support year one. So we kind of had that kind of confidence that they're all going to come, and it was our job to get punters through the door and make everyone come back again. Which is, to be honest, like we were getting bullied about the food tokens earlier before we went live. But that was all kind of part of like make everyone want to be back here year two. Like year one, I think we had 1,200 attendees, and we gave out free goodie bags to all 1,200 of them, which we removed year two, and everyone was angry. But it was like year one, we kind of had to make it great, because no one, it was kind of, we had to thank everyone for kind of taking the leap of faith with us, and kind of having a good time. But then naturally, you kind of have to pull some of those things back as the show kind of can run itself and can sell out itself, etc., etc. But year one, it was very much kind of ahead of its time, but not by that much. But it was, for that, I don't think Ireland was actually ready for an event that size at that time, and that we benefited from basically chancing our arms at trying to make it work, and it kind of went smooth year one, and then we had a full year to kind of build into it.
Yeah, and you went straight to the convention center as well.
That was high risk strategy, but it paid off. Like
right away.
You know what? We were actually supposed to be in the upstairs room, so where the second floor was this year.
Yeah,
that was our original floor year one venue, which is a lot smaller. It's like it's 60% the size, so a lot easier, a lot less stressful. And about 2 or 3 weeks before, the venue said, hey, at no additional cost, we're going to give you downstairs because there's an event happening the day before, and upstairs will be tough to turn around. So we basically just had to own that, like, because that space downstairs is sickening to look at when you're, like, literally, I was there the day before looking at the table set out year one, and I just felt sick to my stomach, because I was like, it's impossible to make this room look full. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, this is horrible. This is terrible. Like, even with our ticket sales, I knew we were going to have 1,200 people. I was like, this is going to be disgusting. I was like, this is horrible. I was honestly felt so sick to my stomach, but it was kind of, it worked out well, because then that was the foundation for year two. We didn't have to suddenly go downstairs. We'd already experienced it, but we were thrown in the deep end year one. Thankfully, it worked out. Everyone loved the space of year one. Like, year one wasn't ideal if you really wanted to kind of walk around slow, look through everything. Like, it was brilliant for attendees year one, because you weren't getting pushed. You didn't have a line. It was amazing, but that's not, you can't run a show with, 0 lines and, et cetera. Everyone did. It was a really fun year one. Kind of, anyone that was there kind of remembers it really fondly as a really fun, spacious event. They told us.
I love the card as well. The card for the inaugural show was brilliant.
Yes,
great addition.
Tops made their own, like, memorable card for year one, which was really, really good. Yeah, they used to do that for, like, every show, but then they decided, like, we'll do it for the kind of the inaugural show of a show that we sponsor, and then instead of every year having a different card. But that was a nice touch. Yeah, definitely.
It's I still have that card somewhere, actually. Yeah, it was a nice touch.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I saw it there recently.
Also, just to touch on the goodie bags that you did on year 1. I pulled Kevin De Bruyne out of 10 auto out of one of the free packs.
They were, believe me, they were not only were they a goodie bag for everyone, they were a generous goodie bag for everyone.
They were very.
It shows the
Oh,
kind
they
of
were.
almost guilt we had going into year 1, being like, I can't believe people are coming to this event. But year 2, I think we had like 100 or 200 bags for like the first 100 or 200 in. Yeah, look at that. But it did, it was also like there was a lot of cross pollination, because we knew like Irish people, for the most part, if you're into cards at that point, you were probably into Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering. But it was kind of a thing. We know a lot of Irish people are very much like, sure, like, what's this? Like, I'll have a look at this. Great card for this. So it was kind of like, let's just throw it in a bag, and maybe someone opens it, hits a Kevin De Bruyne auto, and then suddenly is like, can I buy a box of this anywhere? Can I, and just that curiosity. So like, it was kind of a growing the hobby in Ireland in that sense, in the sports sense and non-sports sense, like entertainment products, Star Wars, etc. Was kind of like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna it'll cost us a fortune to give out all this stuff, but it could have like a positive ripple effect, which ultimately will benefit the show and benefit ourselves anyway.
Yeah, like I pulled my first auto in it as well. Nothing big. I can't remember Ferran Torres, but like pulling an auto, it felt special. Like I'd never done that before. So yeah, I suppose it encouraged me to get some more.
Yeah,
but you got a nice box, the last one there, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a great box. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even that's just unreal. Like
out of the VIP bag, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was very nice.
Yeah, I need to get early access next time. One thing I'm going to ask, Enzo, is because you guys started that show and you were like, oh my god, are people going to come? This, the sports side in Ireland isn't as big as the Pokemon side. So you guys are considered, I know from my community, the Pokemon community, when your show is announced, people refer to it as the big one, right?
Okay.
They do refer to it as the big one. Do you feel that your card show has brought people into the sports side of the hobby? And I asked that because Phantom Pulls in the chat specifically mentioned this. He said, I'm massively into football, but never realized how big the football card collecting was in Ireland until recently. I don't know if that's because of the show, but do you feel that there are people going into the hobby because of the show?
Like, as I said, I think the goodie bags year 1 and to an extent year 2, and more so the exposure, because I think even if you're a football fan and you're walking in, even as a Pokemon person, or if you maybe you're going to the show, you're not even into cards, but your kids like Pokemon, so we had a lot of families that'll come. And then you see, year 1 we had the jerseys there as well, and it's kind of like you look at it and go, oh, what's this? It's curiosity. So I do think we helped that for sure. I mean, even right down to when we did the podcast, that was kind of educational. Any Irish people that kind of found it kind of latched into it as well. But it is also like it's having a moment. Like Ireland is always kind of a little bit behind, I feel, kind of the UK, and I think the UK is a little bit behind the US. So it's kind of that thing of like we seen it in London going kind of crazy, and we were like, this is going to happen here eventually. Like it's not going to not. Like it doesn't happen all over Europe and in the UK and in the States, and Irish people just head in the sand. Like it's going to kind of trickle over. But we are like this year specifically, it's gone a bit mental.
Yeah, I can sense that. I feel like the sports side of things has definitely started to, I don't want to say follow Pokemon at the same speed, but it's definitely growing rapidly.
Yeah. We also have we have the shop as well, right? So we have Atlantic Collectables in Dublin, and we've seen a lot of people from the Pokemon side of things, because we work in the shop, and we're kind of there, kind of setting it up now, kind of setting up all the processes of it before we hopefully then put in a shop manager. But we're there, so we're getting that beautiful kind of feedback with the customers, and there is a lot of people from the Pokemon space cashing out their Pokemon because they're telling us it's so high right now, like they kind of cannot believe it, and they can't justify holding it because they just feel like they might be able to buy it back, in a few months or a year. But there's a lot of them selling it or telling us, I've sold this because it went so high, and then they're buying sports boxes. And then on the flip side, there's a lot of people that would historically buy sports that are going, I want to try this Pokemon stuff. Like I'm getting wrecked on the board. there is genuine, like, I mean, there is kind of like people think the kind of grass is greener on the other side, because it's like if you're already opening packs and ripping cards and collecting cards, it's not a big jump. If you're interested in Star Wars, if you're interested in Marvel or sports or soccer, or, NFL, NBA, it's not a huge jump to go, okay, I'll figure out what's going on here. And in the sports world, we always hear like Pokemon is like flying and everything. PSA pop counts can be 2,000 and you're still going to have a big card. So people, it's really hard to see it and not kind of get involved. So we have had people kind of crossing over on both sides of the coin. So it is interesting.
Yeah,
I do see vendors now with Pokemon on their table like that were predominantly sports, and like that even now we've got Darren. Like last year when we done the show, we were 2 tables with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and then this year we had Darren in from from proper cards doing the sports cards first, and it was mental. It was crazy. Like he was as busy as we were, so like it's done great things for both hobbies.
100%.
Even the gaming collectors, like the Irish gaming market there. I remember that I was at it maybe 4 years ago. The Irish gaming market, early doors, and sure, there's 2 or 3 big vendors that have come from that side to Pokemon now.
Yeah,
like Northdown and Collection Mania. They were all just games, like.
Oh, so even coming from the gaming side of things.
Mm.
Yeah, it's wild, and I have to, like, even for me personally, I'm a big lifelong football fan, and WWE fan. I never touched any of the cards until I went to your show, and just saw the vendors, and I was like, oh my god, they've WWE stuff, they've football stuff that's not match attacks, and now every time I go to a show, I'm always like, I have to get at least a blaster box of football, I have to get at least a blaster box of WWE. So it has even brought, I'm not like a full-time sports collector, but I even dabble a little bit. So it definitely has for me personally, your card show has made me spend money on sports.
So sorry. I cannot be held accountable. I think I'm waiting to get sued someday for giving out the goodie bags. You started this. I didn't care nothing about no sports until I opened them goodie bags.
First one's always free.
That's it. Get you hooked.
Like I say as well, this year was the first year we didn't do goodie bags. We had the VIP goodie bags. This was the first year where the goodie bags featured Pokemon proper. In year 2 there was some. Maybe in year 1 there was a dabble, but in year 3 every VIP bag had 3 Pokemon packs in it, and the spin the wheel featured Pokemon this year as well, because opening the shop results in us having Pokemon stock, and therefore we're able to actually add it in. But it is, I think both are super healthy at the minute, which is like a scary place to be in a little bit, because I think we are used to kind of boom and bust.
Yeah.
But things are definitely kind of on fire market wise at the moment.
In terms of then the in terms of like your vendor applications, what kind of ratio are you seeing from people who do Pokemon, people who do sports, and then everything else? Like what kind of ratio are you seeing in the applications?
So in the first 2 years, I would say it was 60% sports, and maybe 40% Pokemon. I would say this year was more parity, but it's kind of interesting. It's hard to, like, we always try to get everyone to tell us what category they're in, and a lot of people just refuse to respond sometimes. And we do have a few very much in the others or the miscellaneous section, definitely. It's interesting. Like, we are kind of sports crowd or sports attendees often say there's so much Pokemon at that show, there's not that much sports. And it's like, I kick walls when I hear that, because I know, like, there is genuinely a lot of sports tables at our show. Like, I've been to shows in Europe where it's a huge struggle to get sports vendor tables versus Pokemon. Like, Pokemon completely takes over. And it's like, I'm like, there is genuinely sports, and the attendees are actually spending, because anytime I talk to any of the sports tables, they're like, they made a lot of money at the show. Like, it's not even like they're kind of there and all the attendees don't want to look at them. And then on the flip side, all the Pokemon vendors also have an amazing day. We see that with the queues and across the board. I don't think I've ever heard a complaint in terms of like their sell-through on the day. And I also feel like the Pokemon people sometimes say there's a lot of, like, our show kind of has that kind of reputation of being kind of a sports show, or at least there is a lot of sports at the show. So it's kind of a fine balance, but it is at the minute roughly 50-50. And that's been kind of historically, at least in the first couple of years, I felt like there wasn't that many kind of businesses in Ireland in sports or in Pokemon that like had a roller banner. Jimmy, I see your roller banner behind you, but like clearly it's like a lot of connections, but it's like you don't have a brand, or you don't have, a brand logo, an identity, a website, etc., etc. But it does feel like in the last year there's been a lot more professionalization and brand building and kind of business building in the space. So this year I think it was more so 50-50, but Jason is, I'm gonna have to pull this one. Jason is in charge of that one, so I'm not 100% sure. Like, Dean, you would have walked around the show. Like, what would be your, like, how would you kind of rate it? Because we in the shop, a lot of people kind of talk about the other shows in Ireland, and they would say like there's 1 or 2 sports vendors at it, and they're fuming over it. They're going, I wanted more sports, and it's like, I feel like that always kind of happens across the board. Like we've been to many a London card show where we're vending and there's people going, "There's no sports here. There's no sports." Whereas I do think we have a nice balance at ours, but I'm not like I don't really get a chance to walk around. So
I everything you said I think is pretty accurate. So I did feel year one was there was definitely more sports tables, which made sense. So yeah, I did feel that, and I do feel then this year it was a bit more balanced. So yeah, I think you're pretty from what I saw, I think you're pretty spot on. Yeah, it's definitely more balanced this year. The one thing I would call out, and you did touch on it, is so I don't know if you watched, but I did a POV like a walking around. One thing I pointed out was there was still a lot of people that didn't have any signage. And when I can't see through a crowd to what's on their table, I don't know if they're Pokemon or sports.
Yeah,
that was the only thing, and that's nothing on you guys. I was just like, please, people, put something up so I know.
It's kind of it comes down as well to like we set up at a Dublin Comic Con a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and there was a huge kind of application process to get your table. Whereas like for us, year one, it was very much we have as many tables as we possibly have. If you want tables, let us know. And in some case, then year two, we grandfathered in some of the people from year one. Anyone that we thought was really, really good, we'd kind of give them a head start. Hey, we're going to put tables on. Do you want to get involved?
Yeah.
And year three was somewhat similar as well. So we haven't actually done a proper kind of vetting. So in something like year one, someone came, I think So Obsessed is the name, but she literally sells candles. And it's her off season. So she hits markets. It was her off season. So she's like, there's an event on the convention center. I'll just set up. Who cares? Like, it might work. And she had a great day because I think there was a lot of people that were kind of brought along to the show that had no interest in cards, but they were like, "Oh, hand poured Irish candles. I'll get involved in this." I think she had unique, like back 3 years in a row. So I don't know in Pokemon if you describe seal boxes as wax, but we do in sports. So we'd say sealed wax for boxers. So we were kind of saying year one, she sold the most wax in the room with candles. Like she comes back. So it is that thing of like, I think we weren't really picky in the first 3 years pretty much on vendor tables because it's not like there's a huge list of Irish sports or TCG vendors to a point where you have to start select or filtering it out. It's kind of like everyone can come, and in some cases people will kind of come with the kind of randomest of stuff, and there's no real way of until you see their table setting up, you don't really know what it is. So year 4 we might have to, because again, as I said, it's growing so much that we may have to vet it a little bit more, and ideally kind of be like, give me, in some cases, anytime we put out the floor plan, some people are like, "Oh, you just put my name on my table. My brand is this." And it's like, what do you mean your brand is that? How am I meant to know that? Like, you don't have a brand, not in a bad way, but you know what I mean? It's like, you don't have a website, you don't have an Instagram. Like, how am I meant to know that? So yeah, hopefully I think that just comes with time, right? As more years progress, we're going to see more businesses popping up. Like, I think this year, Polka Olive, it was her first year vending at our show. She hadn't, like at the last show, which was a year prior, she didn't have her brand set up, etc. So I think another year's time, there's going to be new players in the game, definitely in sports and in TCG. So yeah, that is a bit of a nightmare. Like we've flirted with the idea of kind of fully segregating sports and TCG, like having like this side of the room is all TCG, this time is all sports. Because again, all the vendors across the board are happy with their kind of revenue on the day. The foot traffic is there for both. But I also personally, it's my personal kind of preference, I like the kind of, you're walking and you're kind of exposed to a bit of everything.
Yeah, I like the mix. Yeah,
it's like you're finding it. You're stumbling across kind of hidden gems in the room to a degree by split.
Yeah, that's a good point. You definitely wouldn't, if Pokemon was just in one section, the majority of us would just do our Pokemon stuff. I'd probably venture a bit, but yeah, I get what you mean. People are less likely to explore and discover new collectibles or new hidden treasures, as you say. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. Something I wanted to touch on then as well, and I know you kind of already touched on a bit, was kind of the international influence or involvement. I assume you've seen, I earlier on I just typed in Dublin Card Show onto YouTube, and the amount of POVs from American YouTubers, UK YouTubers, have you seen that international interest and involvement grown heavily each year?
Yeah, huge. I mean, if you look again, there's a Spanish vlog, there's also a Polish vlog, which is kind of mad. Like, you don't even target those markets necessarily. We had a lot of Germans on the show floor this year. There was actually, our show actually clashed with an Austrian show, and a lot of the Germans had gone to Austria. But basically, the feedback I got was all the Germans that came to Dublin were telling the Austrians how good it was. The Germans that went to Austria how good it was, and they were all fuming that because they didn't have as good a time. I don't want to mention the Austrian show, but they didn't have as good a time. And people were kind of waxing lyrical about our show, all the Germans. So we are expecting now like a big German influx next year, which is good because like our experience from going to shows, German shows, like the spending power is huge, right? And like that's something that we're kind of proud to be able to bring as well to the shows. Like there are a lot of people kind of going around with a big spending power, whether they're in the States, in the UK, in Germany, that are like trying to cash out. Like we did have one guy. He came to our shop trying to buy all of our Pokemon boxes, and we just looked at him and said, not all. Like we can't sell them all. Like we don't have like card limits, but it's like I need this. This is the week of the Dublin card show. I need people that come in here that be able to buy Pokemon. But I bumped into him during the show, and I was like, because he said I had a lot of money to spend, and he was trying to buy Pokemon. And I said, how'd you get on? And he was angry, and he was saying, no one was selling their stuff properly. Like I think he said, someone might have had Poncho Pikachus maybe, and he was trying to buy them all, and the person was like, they're not all for sale. Say the same way as me. And I was like, I'm so sorry we're all looking at these things dearly. But it is that thing of like, there was people walking around the room spending a lot of money with anyone that was a vendor. But yeah, we're seeing basically, to be honest, like year one went really, really well. Like people that were there came back because they genuinely enjoyed it. In some cases, enjoyed the food tokens. In some cases, enjoyed the free bag. Maybe year two was a bit of a shock to them. But it was that thing of like, we're kind of building the show on its reputation. So year one, people come. I think we had someone from Poland year one that did a vlog. And then the next year, there's more people from Poland coming because they'd heard it was good. And then they booked it out and they came. So the more years you kind of do with positive feedback, it's kind of going to keep growing in that way. But yeah, so we have next year, we're expecting Germans, Spanish, Italians, etc. So long as we don't clash. Like every year when we plan the card show, we are looking at like London card show dates, Paris card show dates. Like it is very much, we look at the global calendar because it is an important kind of aspect, just because we do have so many connections ourselves through running the business for the last 6 years in all these different countries. So yeah, it's a big element of the show, and it's one that we try to preserve as best we can. Dublin is a very expensive city, so that does make it a bit difficult. But
a lot of people want to come here, like, so you've got a lot of the big dogs are going to want to come, like.
It's the biggest of the big dogs that have money to burn are like a weekend in Dublin, brilliant. I don't care about the cost.
Yeah,
and you're in the Dublin, basically brilliant. There's a nice hotel here. It does price some people out for sure. But again, you can Ryanair it. You can get kind of an Airbnb. You can get a kind of shared room, etc. Like there's budget ways to do it, and especially with how easy it is to get from kind of convention center to the airport, you can one day it as well. Like you don't even need to do. If you're in the UK, you can
40 minutes. You're in London. Yeah.
That's why, like we I think year one would have opened the show at 10. Was kind of like to give people the ability to fly in morning of, and then fly out, to save on hotels, etc. And people do that. Even some vendors fly out, same day. So it's a bit mad. But yeah, the people like Dublin as a destination, and we very much try to keep it like that.
I mean, you have vendors from the US coming in, right?
Crazy, yeah.
Like that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, when you think about that, that's insane.
Yeah. Year two, we had a lovely crowd, Pokemon vendors, because most of them are like sports vendors that we would know or know of, etc. But there was a Pokemon vendors that came from New York, and they were there year two, and they, after the show, said they will be back every single year. It was an incredible show. Again, they benefited from not that many Pokemon vendors being kind of established. I think they had great inventory, etc. But this year they didn't come. They had booked it, but they didn't come because it clashed with a wedding, unfortunately.
Right.
But, even like US Pokemon vendors, TCG vendors coming, UK vendors making it kind of part of their kind of yearly. There's a lot of people basically that are full time in the space that put Dublin on the calendar as a do not miss event, which is like humbling for us, especially because when we first launched it in year one and in year two to a degree, the market really wasn't where it is now. Whereas like this year, it really felt like we could host a fully domestic show with no internationals, and it would be a wonderful day still.
Yeah, I always have the same thing on my calendar. Like, Dublin Card Show is my WrestleMania. It's what I aim for at the end of it. It's literally I work my year towards it. Like,
it's all of our WrestleManias.
But like we had as well,
spandex next year.
Insight on the background. Like our table, we set up a table at the show, and like this year's show was the best kind of intake of revenue that we've done at our table. At any show we've been
without being at it.
6 years, and not even being on it, thank God. Although, year two was a mess because the Wi-Fi was a bit dodgy. I kept running over to fix the point of sale system. But like we've vended in New York for Fanatics Fest last year, which was a 2-day show, and like we beat that. Obviously, we can bring more inventory to our own show, so it's a lot easier. We can be a bit bigger than we would if we went to a London, etc., etc. But it was very noticeable that like the hobby in Ireland had kind of gone a bit mental.
We just leave Anton in the shop that day.
We just about, because the Sunday it was terrible. The Sunday we opened the shop because we knew we had a lot of internationals in. A lot of people kind of wanted to tick Dublin Card Show and the shop off their kind of list. So we knew, tired as we were and hungover as we were, we had to open the shop the next day. And we went into the shop, made it in, and we had forgot that we took our point of sale system to the Dublin show. Yes. So we didn't have our kind of iPad interface, but thankfully we had a little iPad mini. So we were there hungover tapping the tiniest of screen to check people out, and they were kind of looking at us going, "Is this how you do it?" But it was also like it was crazy in store the following day because there was so many people kind of there at the same time. It was very tough, but I can't complain at all. No.
Because I mean, when you talk about the growth from 1,200 people in the first year to just over 4,000 in year 3,
4.5 year 3, yeah.
If we consider that neither hobby slows down, how do you continue to manage or cater to more people wanting to go every year? Like, and I don't want to. I feel like I'm hyping to like an end of podcast question where it's like, is it going to be 2 events per year? Is it going to be 3 floors? Like, I don't want to maybe push into that yet. But how we, like, when you guys are looking ahead going, next year is probably going to be bigger again. How do you?
So this year, the biggest challenge, because like as wonderful as the convention center is, and it's especially for internationals, it's a beautiful aesthetic building. It feels very lovely to be there, especially when you get a sunny day like we did this year. Everything felt good fun and great. The trouble with that venue is that it is vertical. You have to go up. The only way to grow is to go up, which personally I had never been to a card show where that successfully worked. The second floor, I've been to a German show where they put all the sponsors on the second floor, and that German show never had a sponsor again because there was no foot traffic on the second floor, because people are like, oh, there's nothing up there, there's just sponsors, So that was the fear, was that the only way to scale it inside the same venue was to go up. We successfully went up this year with Manny. We pulled out every trick we could think of to get people upstairs and keep them upstairs. But yeah, it's a tough one. Like I'm happy that, like, at the minute, 2 shows a year. I know you haven't asked the question fully, but I don't want to do 2 a year, partially because of, again, WrestleMania is not twice a year, right? As Jimmy said,
and it is a 2-day show.
If we did 2 a year, our internationals would go, oh,
it is a 2-day show.
Yeah, I'll go to the December one, or I'll go to the one at the start of the year. So if we had 2, it would split and almost kind of ruin the magic of the kind of one big one, especially because we do look at the international crowd. Like, if there was, like, we go to America for the National Sports Collectors Convention, which is, there is TCG there, but it's the biggest kind of sports show in the world, and it's once a year, and it's like 4 or 5 day show. If that was twice a year, it just wouldn't be something that is like, well, you have to go to that. You need to, it just wouldn't be. But thankfully, the demand is there for 7 shows a year, to be honest. Like, but thankfully there are so many shows now in Ireland. Like, there is good coverage and really quality shows popping up and being run. So because the demand is, like, the sad thing for us doing 1 a year is that we leave a big vacuum that competitors, quote unquote, can set up their own shows and have great success, because the vacuum is there and the demand is 100% there. So for us, it's going to probably have to keep going up until all 6 floors have been taken down of the convention. Until we have a Yu-Gi-Oh floor and etc.
Yu-Gi-Oh floor.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously we could potentially, RDS is obviously a huge venue as well. There's options on the board, but it is very much in the short term. It's kind of like, can we go up again? Can we do a 2-day show? Do we want to do a 2-day show? There's definitely the demand for a 2-day show. We know, like, once we sell out tickets, there's people freaking out. So, you could definitely do it. A lot of our costs would carry over into 2 days, right? Like, if we put any kind of advertising into it, it's the same stuff. So the second day, if done right, would be, more profitable as well. And like vendors as well. If you're flying in, it's only 1 set of flights, etc. So it makes sense. It is also kind of sad to, like, some people come from, Toronto, and it's over in 6 hours, and it's kind of like, God damn, but at the same time, we do have that kind of element of it's a weekend in Dublin. On a personal note, which I don't think, this is why, like, an event manager would help, because, like, Enzo, your personal opinion, you can't keep forcing your personal opinion on people. But I've never enjoyed a second day at a show anytime I've vended at one or anytime I've attended it, because I'm always kind of out. I suppose it's my fault. I'm always out the Saturday night, and then the next day.
Yeah, it's the Saturday.
I've been to a lot of shows where there was a blockbuster Saturday, and the Sunday took the sting out of it as well. It was kind of like, I looked at the show a bit differently. I was like, that wasn't the best show, was it? Even though, like, the Saturday was, like, the best thing I've ever experienced in my life. But again, it comes with time. I think the biggest thing that we're doing is ultimately, if you come away from the show desperate for more, then we've done our job. You know, it's like if everyone wants if everyone wants more as opposed to everyone wanting less, then perfect. That's it's the perfect sweet point. Same with even like, you know, to kind of take that analogy a bit further, like Ascended Heroes, right? If everyone could get it right now and it was overprinted, it gets to a point where it's like, I don't actually want it. There is a sweet spot, and even for us, when we're getting any product in sports, I'm always of the belief, like, if I want more, then that's the healthiest kind of version of this business and this hobby. It's like, if I feel like I could have taken 10 times as much as you've given me, then great. So you're running a perfectly healthy business, and you know the risk is low, etc., etc. So it is a thing of like Christmas is once a year, you know, WrestleMania is once a year. So for the time being, Dublin Card Show is once a year.
I hope that answers a lot of people that are in the chat. I didn't read a lot of them out, but there are
people I can't see the chat. I can't see the chat. If anyone is heckling me, I don't see it. I'm just looking at these beautiful.
United scored a pen, by the way.
I see. Yeah, I got a message there.
I've got to verify that. I don't believe in nothing.
We'll take it.
Bruno.
Big Bruno. Right. Well, then look from that. Is it one? Still 1-0. Perfect. We'll take that. 1-0. Big Bruno. Sorry, Enzo. We got a bit excited there. Okay, look, we won't push too much on, but like, oh, you know, why wouldn't you do a second one? Is a second day more likely than a second show?
Yeah, I would say yes. For what I can say, I can't speak for the board, but definitely more likely. Again, there are a lot of benefits to that. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's one for us to kind of sit on. Very much so though. Like after this year, we were delighted with the show, right? Like the second floor was really tough. Pretty much doubling the attendees after last year felt really crunched. It's like that could have been a disaster. It worked out perfectly fine. So we're happy with that. Last year we had a lot of things when we walked away to fix, whereas this year I think we have kind of a year to try to innovate it and just how do you make it better, how do you improve it, which is great. But 2 days, it's not off the table. We also think like sponsors would like 2 days, right? The same thing for them if they're booking flights, if they're sending teams, if they're doing all this sort of stuff. Then it makes sense. We almost had McDonald's as a sponsor this year. They reached out late. You know, they did it in London with their TCG cards.
Yeah.
They had reached out very late and then they weren't able to do it themselves. But that was almost a thing. So there's more scope for that sort of stuff, but it's difficult. Like I would love to have, you know, TCG tournaments on the day, etc., etc. Like that happens, I think, at Comic-Con, which is in the same venue, in the Dublin Comic-Con. I think on the 3rd or 4th floor they do that. Like I'm not against it because that's a way of getting more people in the room. If they're on the 3rd floor playing with each other, having a great time, they're also not occupying space on the bottom. So like there's ways to do it, but ultimately it's you never know. Like this time next year, maybe the hobby is, you know, a bit more. Maybe we're back to 1 floor because things are not doing too good. But I don't know. Like the challenge is the verticality of the venue, but there's loads of things we have not done, mostly due to personal preference. Like even having, you know, guests at the show, which we get often. Like people say, like sometimes there's sports stars or there's voice actors and artists and stuff like that at other shows. We always get asked about that, and I just like, personally, I'm forcing everyone to have the show that I believe is the good show. But I've never loved it. Like sometimes I'm at like a show and there's like a, you know, famous footballer on stage talking, and I'm just like, today is not the day for that. Like it's kind of like I'd love to that person, but we're all busy. Like we're all here kind of doing something. That's a personal preference. In the convention, there's so many kind of breakout rooms that where you could kind of do that and it doesn't disrupt anything else, etc. So there's things we can do. At the minute, we very much just trying to build something that we can then present to whether it's sponsors or whether it's athletes or whether it's whatever to decide. We're trying to kind of have everything kind of in stone and be like, this is a good event. I don't know why is not coming to it. Like it is. I can stand over this wholeheartedly. And after like the first 2 years, it was still 50-50, whereas this one it really felt kind of as big as I to be honest, it was something that I thought like in 10 years Ireland will look like this, whereas it kind of happened a lot faster. So yeah, I was very happy with the show, if you can't tell.
Well, we appreciate the very diplomatic, carefully answered question. It's very
almost AI.
I am actually not real, by the way. I'm watching
on a side note, Pokebundles Ireland, Tony, thank you for the gifted membership. Very much appreciated. We appreciate that. Enzo was saying wonderful things about you earlier before you came in. So
I'm not gonna any of that.
No, look, I mean, the idea of a 2-day show. I've never experienced a 2-day show, but I love card shows, conventions, like deeply. deeply. And even if I spent all my money on the first day, I would go for the full second day just for the vibes. Like I just love it there. Now, don't make your decision based on just me, but I'd be all in. And I do think for the internationals and sponsors, if they, you know, as you said, if they see, okay, we're going to actually get 2 days out of this, we're getting more out of our time.
100%.
So yeah, just bear that in mind.
Listen, I'll say that at the end of last year's show, I told everyone there's no way we're going upstairs. So don't hold me.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so there we go. So I told everyone.
Never say never.
Are you getting messages from Jason? They're like, "Shut up now."
Please, I prepped you. I prepped you with all my energy. No,
Stick to the script.
Yeah, you use the cards, like, you know. I don't know. You done box breaks though. This was your first time doing that, wasn't it? A live one on stage.
So
How'd that go for you?
Yeah, we had so upstairs, like that's kind of a fun one to kind of talk about. So like, we put the food upstairs, we put the trade area upstairs, we put an arcade upstairs, we put grading services upstairs, we put some vendors upstairs, and we had a live stage upstairs. We very much were trying to tell people, go upstairs, please. We were terrified that people just would not go upstairs, but they did, thank God. But the live selling stage, that was a tough bit of tech to kind of, you know, that was like, it's like you're running a show and then you're trying to figure that out, which was a bit of a mess, but came together really good. I basically took my own live stream setup, brought it to the convention center. God bless their tech team. They were able to help us and do what we needed done. And we had various people's, one of our sponsors sponsored that live stage, GTS, and various of their customers streamed on the stage throughout the day to their own communities online. And that worked really, really well. That's something you do see at like in American shows and some shows now in Europe as well. It is kind of a thing. So, you know, even like the audio, we made sure the audio didn't disrupt anyone upstairs, right? If you're getting a coffee, you're not listening to someone. Like it's very like the convention didn't really understand what I was doing. They're like, you've built all this and it's not really for the people here, and I was like, exactly. But it was very much for the people kind of online to kind of get a flavor of the show, and it's just something in the background. And we had put the trade area right in front of it, because oftentimes even at the biggest shows in the States, they set up like theater size seating in front of the stage, and those seats are always just empty because no one is really watching it, if you know what I mean. So we decided put the trade area in front of it. That way, the front of it is actually still something's happening. And then every now and then when something is hit, people were looking up going like, what happened? Like, what's that over there? It was really, it was a late addition to the show. It was actually, we went to see the venue kind of a week or two out, and it just so happened that they had set up for whatever they were doing in there. I don't know if AIB were in there, someone was in there doing something, and they had it set up like that in that kind of conference stage setup. And we were like, oh, that would be brilliant. And then like very late on, we're like, let's do that. And we kind of pulled it together. So that was highly stressful. It's because we had visually seen it. And we said that would be a great way of using upstairs and kind of filling the space, etc. And another thing for people to see upstairs as well. We wanted to do giveaways during the day as well on that and a giveaway stream, but it kind of, things were going so smooth. We were like, let's just
didn't need it.
Let's just take it. We don't need it. It's working. We don't need to do anything. And no gimmicks needed, nothing needed, etc. etc. So
was there any mad hits?
Yeah, there was someone broke, which was crazy, a full case of Mosaic Euro 2020, which is like a tough product. And a full case is 12 boxes. And God bless Ben, who's also from the States. Bless his patience for doing it. But he hit 2 101s. So he hit a 101 Kingsley Coleman autograph in a French kit, and a 101 Marcus Thuram, which is actually one of his rookie cards as well. So 2 huge hits for France. Awesome. So God bless him for that. But yeah, it was also interesting. We didn't have necessarily like any kind of Pokemon vendor that we personally knew to be like, great, they'll love to be on the live stage, etc., etc. So that's something we can potentially open up next year as well. And yeah, so that was a big success. I do believe I can confirm that will be returning for year 4 of the show, definitely.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was deadly. Now, as soon as I seen that there, I was kind of going, oh, I kind of want to be upstairs now.
Like we were super scared. Like it was €50 for an upstairs vendor table because we were like, we have no idea if people are going to go upstairs. Like, it could be a disaster, you know? So we were like, let's just make it super cheap. I think someone had worked out that like a vendor table was cheaper than early entry tickets because it was like €50 for a vendor table. You got a buddy, and if you're a vendor, you're in early. So they were like, I can just buy a vendor table and just to go to the show after it's sold out. I was like, no, don't do that. Don't game the system, please. People are very.
You had trouble with that last year, though, didn't you? People buying vendor tickets to get in after it was sold out.
Craziness.
Seriously?
We actually had it was mad. It was just a glitch, I think, on our event at the Eventbrite. But at like 5 a.m. morning of the show, someone bought 3 vendor tables, and I was like, "What the hell? How is this even happening? These have been sold out for so long." I was like, "Is someone going to just show up?" But apparently they had like bought it before, and the notification decided to give us a heart attack morning of the show.
Oh Jesus!
But it's that was a big addition. It was fun to do. It's again great for sponsors, right? They in our industry specifically, but definitely Pokemon as well. Like a lot, like if we want, Whatnot or eBay Live, etc., when they eventually focus on Ireland, instead of the big markets in the UK and Germany, etc. Having that built out and having that done already and executed on, it's like, do you want to sponsor a live stage? Yes or no? And do you want to build it out, etc., etc. So, yeah, we're trying to, the more sponsorship we get, we won't have to like raise tickets to tables and raise, etc., etc. Like we've kind of, you don't want to give people heart attacks next year now that we've proven that the upstairs vendors, as it turned out, because upstairs was a success, the upstairs vendors were like €50 and not a lot of vendor competition upstairs. So a lot of them had a fantastic day. But again, they deserve that for kind of taking that risk of, imagine the entire show was downstairs, wall to wall. You'll see that in kind of videos, vlogs, POVs. If upstairs wasn't that, you'd have been fuming. Like I'm upstairs and the show is literally downstairs. I've done all of the same setup that anyone else would do, and I missed out on all of the sales, all of the interactions, all the buying because I'm upstairs. But thankfully, God bless, it all worked. That was honestly the biggest kind of source of stress was, will upstairs work or not work? I don't know if we had roller banners everywhere that were like downstairs, vendor tables, upstairs, and then a huge list. Like we were trying our best to be like, go upstairs. And obviously food will get the job done for sure. We knew that. People will find the food.
A big trade space as well. Like it gives you a breather, like, because it's manic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's welcome, like definitely welcome.
It was a whole other show up there. It
was like a very, very premium breakout room with some extra vendors, etc., etc. Like even like the grading, like our grading, we had a like in kind of a US based that are now based in the UK, like AI grading company that I've never graded with, I wouldn't use, but they wanted to come. And then we had Black Label who do like submissions to PSA and Beckett, etc. They were both late editions, and it was beautiful to be like, perfect, you're upstairs because people are going to look for you anyway. So happy days, go upstairs. But they had a great day, and they felt it was good because they had more time as well to just chat to people and tell them about the process, etc. Instead of like battling for space downstairs. So upstairs was almost a bigger success than I thought. Best case scenario could have been, which is great. And again, even just like the weather on the day, like going up and down the escalators and the sun was beaming, and that was like probably the first sunny day in like 67 days in Ireland. After all that rain. It was like the vibes were very much immaculate.
It was a lovely day.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was a lovely day. One of my favorite parts of my own POV was standing on like the middle floor and just looking out the window. I was like, wow, this is lovely.
This is great, isn't it?
It was. You were blessed with a lovely day.
Definitely.
With a lovely day. So do you think, I think something you mentioned was like, so you had the stage upstairs, you had the graders, and you had the food area. Is there ever like, would you add more extras, or do you know what I mean? Do you think there could be too much? Am I making sense? Yeah,
I think a lot of that was like kind of add some entertainment, take up a lot of the space because upstairs could have been a lot more barren. Yeah. Like the arcade was just kind of a fun thing because last year the spin the wheel was so successful, like it was insane. We had a spin the wheel just at our table. So what we had done last year was VIPs got a VIP spin the wheel, and then we kind of were like, you can't have a giant spin the wheel that no one else other than VIPs can spin. Like children are going to want to spin the wheel, right? We were like, that was a real like, Jesus, that will be a disaster. Like you can't just be telling kids you're not a VIP, you didn't spend 45 grand or whatever year too. It'd be like so elitist. So we're like, we need to figure this out. So we said, all right, let's have 2 prize sheets for the spin the wheel. VIPs get the 1 prize sheet, and there's just one. It's a $5, you can get whatever, And then the spin the wheel got so out of hand. People loved the spin wheel, so it became like we had like 3 members of staff on the spin the wheel year 2, just freaking out. All the stock was selling out. We were crossing out the prizes to add different prizes. It was a complete bedlam. So this year we said, right, we had a plan with the arcade to basically, again, we thought upstairs would be a lot more calmer than it was like the thinking of all this. So we had set up the arcade that you could win spins of the wheel, and the arcade was free to play. So it was essentially like, come here, have a bit of fun. You can win a spin the wheel, you win a pack. Great. In the end, we weren't able to fully do that. We had some games. We had like a cornhole. So if you got it in 3 times, you got a pack. The basketball hoops, again, free to play. It's like whoever was the top score at the end of the day on the basketball hoops got a like €900 basketball box. And that person got it and was a Pokemon person and pawned it off and sold it and bought some stuff, presumably. My intention was to rip that on the live stage to prevent him selling it off, but I didn't have time. It got too messy. But once again, the spin the wheel was super, super popular again and was a bit intense upstairs. So that could get retired. That's a breaking news. It could get retired. And that's a conversation internally that we need to have. But it would certainly free up space up there because there was huge queues for that all day. It took a lot of our team members again, took a lot of our like stock again. It was a bit of a mess. But yeah, potentially, like we don't want upstairs necessarily. Like we may find ourselves next year that upstairs is just pure vendor tables, because the demand, if the demand for tables is there, we may do that, and then relocate some things or get rid of some things or bring stuff in. It's not very much this year. It was like, let's get some tables up there, let's have the food up there, and have as much things up there that can kind of give people a reason to be up there. Because ultimately, it was about trying to take a bit of the air out of the balloon downstairs to make it more breathable. And ultimately, like it worked. It wasn't we doubled the numbers from last year, and it was a lot more spacious. So it was like a win across the board.
Yeah. The tables on the outside for downstairs was absolutely perfect. Massive change, because we were in the middle in year 2. We were across from Tony at Pokebundles, and like that, it was insane. But yeah, this time it was so good having vendors on the outside.
We had
having a rail for Tony.
Yeah, 100%. Year 1, I'd love to talk to Tony, because Tony had like the straightest line. Yeah, like all of his people just lined up, and I'm like, that must have been him telling them to do that, because like everywhere else it was like crowding the tables and whatever, but it was like they were just like, it was as if he had like a ribbon or like a rope to keep them, but they weren't. It was like an imaginary one, I believe, created by the authority of Tony, and everyone was so well behaved, and that was unbelievable. But year 1, what we actually did was we had our own table at the wall that our table's always at when you walk in, basically the exact opposite side as Tony, and we kind of did that. Funny enough, we did it thinking that was kind of a bad spot, and we'll take the hit on that, and we'll put everyone in the center, which is the good spot, etc., etc. So we had done that year 1, and like we had a grand day year 1, and then year 2 we kept the same plan, and we had all the kit vendors around the edges, which was partially year 1. So they were there year 1. It's all behind the scenes. They were there year 1 just to add verticality to what was a giant room, right? A giant room, and genuinely year 1.
There you go. There's a secret.
I tried to chat to Tony many a time throughout the day, and anytime I went near him, I was like, there's not even, I'll just be disturbing him at this point. But year 1, we were genuinely like, there's about 5 vendors, if even, in the country that have, once again, a roller banner. This is year 1. And we were like, this room is so big. That's why we had like the giant banners. That was like verticality. It was like, let's make the space look a bit smaller. Yeah. So we had all the kitsters around the edges, because they had rails and the kits were big, and it kind of added that verticality that other shows would naturally kind of have. And in year 2, that just followed again. We said, all right, they went great year 1, do it year 2. But then the demand was so crazy year 2 that there was a lot of pinch points. And we had changed our setup from rows to islands, which created a lot more kind of intricacies that were, it became an absolute mess. So then this year we had actually moved the kits upstairs. And then we put kind of basically big vendors, because we realized, it took us 2 years, but we realized our table at the wall was actually grand to manage for us. Like, people had space. Yeah. It was fine. We said, oh, put the big vendors also at the other parts, and like if you're big enough, people will draw to you. You don't need to be in the center necessarily. So yeah, that was a game changer. Everyone gave us that. Like we kind of knew that was gonna, like it was kind of, that was a sure bet. It was gonna work. You're not gonna put Tony at any point. Like I could have put Tony upstairs. Like that was something I would have loved him to be like, Tony, please, will you just go upstairs? I need upstairs. Can you just go upstairs? Like it's just you up there, and I promise you that it's gonna be great. But
Tony's up on the 5th floor.
Yeah, Tony, you're on the 5th floor next year, and it's going to work. Don't worry about it. But like that was genuine. We were like, I wish we could just get a big Pokemon vendor upstairs, and it'll just make upstairs, because like you're going to find what you're looking for, But yeah, thankfully we put them across the edges, and thank God, because it helped the entire show flow a lot better. But yeah, I still don't understand how that line was so well behaved.
Would you consider? Because I watch a lot of vendor POVs from the big guys in the States, and I don't know if you watch too many of the Pokemon ones, but the likes of Beard Dad, Coop, Jarchomp, they do have that ribbon to form a queue, and it felt like when you queued a Tony, you could be here for a while in this queue, but if you're to all just flock to the table, you could still be the same amount of time. At least when you're in that queue and you get to the table, you get that, you get your time, you can have a decent look without people coming over your shoulder. Would you ever consider something like that just for the big ones on the outside?
Yeah, potentially. Like, seeing the way Tony did it, it's like, it would add a nice little, to have a nice kind of ribboned off section. It's definitely not all across the board. Like our table definitely was flooded, because we had kind of a U and it was flooded. And even just like trying to keep an eye on the stock, etc., is a nightmare, because everyone's everywhere and you can't pay attention to everything. So yeah, it's definitely definitely a good point. Something that we could definitely. I think I'll talk to Tony on that. For as far as I'm concerned, he's the man on the line.
Olive did it at the Ireland card show as well. They had people saying to queue up this side. They were kind of vocalizing it a good bit, like so, and it worked. So I don't know if Tony said it, but
I think it does, because when I was at Olive's table at your show there the other month, and it felt like I was queuing up at a bar in a nightclub.
Right.
That I was trying to like get their attention, and Olive's like, what do you? That's exactly what it felt like.
Trying to get a drink.
Exactly. So
I think that's something I'd have to like ask our own table to see, because like, again, I wasn't at it this year, so I'd like to ask them, because they might say like, it'll slow it down to a point where it does affect revenue maybe, or something similar. Because again, then if you see a big line, like some people are like, I'll kind of get my way through here and I'll get to the table, grand. People might go, I'm not standing in that line. But I think I need feedback from any of the big vendors that were at the walls to say like, would this be good or bad, or make it optional, etc., etc. But yeah, once again, I'm gonna have to pass that one to Tony.
Jimmy.
He's the only one. That's it. We'll make it fun. Even like, I don't know if like letting some vendors have a separate table for buying well.
Here's your answer.
I know the story, the queue, everyone formed. It was unbelievable lie, Tony. I'm not gonna lie. But I was gonna say like to separate, like let someone like, again, I'm not as familiar with what Olive or Tony were doing at the tables necessarily, but like if a big part of it was buying, like could they have a separate station for buying, and would that kind of make their table a bit more manageable? Vice versa, like that could be an option too, like having a buying station.
I think Emerald had, didn't they?
Say again?
I think Emerald had a buy-in station, didn't they?
I think I heard someone mention that they had a sign at their table saying they had like a buy-in station.
Yeah, trade-ins here or something.
Because even separating that, like separating where you buy and where you sell, and kind of having someone manning the sales and someone manning the buying could help the kind of queue formations as well. But in general, I do think like at a show with 4,500 people at it, it's going to be very hard to kind of manage, regardless. Like some people have half at it, and it's still kind of 3 people deep trying to get to it. So it's a good and bad problem to have.
Yeah. Another not good but bad problem is United are 2-2 and Harry Maguire got sent off. So
Harry Maguire got sent off.
We're going to end the podcast here. I'm going to cry for the night.
See you later.
Not good.
Good God. Harry Maguire. Anyway, sorry, Enzo.
All right. I can't believe you are kind of pitching me as the sports guy, and
we're crying over
the sports.
We're more similar than we are different.
Yeah, honestly. Let's because we've been waffling for we're an hour and 10 in here. I did you at before we went live, I was like to Enzo, have you got like a time frame or anything? And he was like, oh well, I see your average is like 2 hours, and I was like, we never try to hit 2 hours, but here we are, an hour and 10. We haven't even mentioned the shop. We haven't talked drastically about the difference in the hobbies. So I hope everybody's comfortable. Let's maybe change and let's talk about the shop for a bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Atlantic Collectables. When you that's only 2025, right? That was second half of 2025.
Yeah, we opened in November. We had first teased the brand at the second year of the show, but no one noticed it, so we got to hard launch it again.
What was the tease?
It was the rugby simulator thing.
Yeah.
I had Atlantic all over, and there was some Atlantic coming soon, and no one genuinely. I would say we had a QR code to sign up to a mailing list, and I'd say we got 3 signups, and we said, right, that didn't work. The soft launch didn't work, but yeah, it gave us a second app, which was fantastic. But yeah, we opened that in after a very long time of putting it together, longer than we would have liked, but that's the nature of something like that. Opened in November, 2025, 10th of November, I think it was.
And when you were opening that, I mean, obviously, it was like a collectible sports card shop. Did you know Pokemon was going to be involved from the get-go?
Yeah, I'd been buying it in for months. Little I know I was kind of buying at a good price, but like all this Japanese was probably bought summer of 25, which has done me well, I think. Although it was a bit of a boom at the time I was buying, it wasn't exactly in cheap. But it was obvious. Like we'd been to card shows, we hosted our own show. If you go to shows and host shows and you don't see Pokemon, you are an idiot. Like there was a lot of people. I've been to so many shows where people are like, there's so many Pokemon, and like their entire business is cards, and it's like, right, there's so many Pokemon, you're almost there. Like you're flying around the place, setting up. You know what the demand is. You're so close. So we just know it's so hard to get, right? That's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
I would have thousands of SKUs of Pokemon in store if I could, but it is super difficult to get your hands on. And we had people running in today in the shop for first partners. There's people running in a sweat and in a panic going, do you have first partners? And we're like, no, we don't. We're not direct. We don't have first partners. And like, okay, and they're back darting out the door. So anytime there's a release, we know about it, even if we don't try to know about it. People Google card shops, etc., and they find their way to us. They're ultimately they're disappointed, but many times they'll leave with something, because there's enough there to grab. But yeah, it was obvious, and it was kind of an ambition of ours to do it, to have it there. And yeah, it's been, because we know a lot of people that have shops in different countries as well, and the story tends to be the same. A lot of them would say like 80% of their revenue, like they started out just sports, and now 80% of their sales are Pokemon. So like we weren't, we were hyper aware of it, and we knew it would be stupid to not have it in shop.
Yeah. As much, I don't know. I know you like Pokemon to some extent, but even if in your head I don't like Pokemon, you'd still have to be like.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Need to, yeah.
You'd be very, you'd have to be very stubborn to just be like, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah,
especially
very sure of yourself.
Like all of us love it still. Like we love cards, period. But even just kids, like there's a lot of kids that are just like, I want Pokemon cards. Like I don't care. Like that's why it's partially so healthy, right? The Pokemon market. It's like kids love it in a way they don't love sports cards, and like there is a huge love of sports cards as well. Don't get me wrong, but like. We have like Japanese Pokemon, and there's so many times the family would come in and they're like, these packs are a lot cheaper. And we're like, oh, they're Japanese. And their kid is like, I don't even care. Like, I just care about the images. Like, that's what, like, I always tell parents, I'm like, the kids don't really care about the images. They just, like, they don't care about Japanese. They don't need to speak Japanese. They just like the images. But the amount of times I've seen a kid directly be like, I don't care about the language. And it's like, right, there you go. It's proof is in the pudding. So yeah, no, it's, we would have never done it without Pokemon. We were stockpiling it for months in advance of it, because we kind of were expecting it to be, if we had people coming to the shop and go, oh, there's no Pokemon, like we were like, we'll get it in a few months. There's so many people would come in and just never come back, because like I went there and there wasn't Pokemon, there's no Pokemon, don't worry about it, go there. Whereas we get people coming in being like, I went to Smith's, I got an ETB of Ascended Heroes, I opened it, I got a God Pack, lucky. And then, like, I'm selling it to you because we buy cards, we cash them out of it, and then they either buy more Pokemon or they just leave and they're happy, or they buy sports. So it is that kind of like, it'd be crazy not to have it. It is a huge part of our Irish.
The demand is there.
100%.
Yeah.
And what about getting distribution for English cards? Is it just impossible?
Do you know what? It's a heartbreaking story. This is actually how we met Poketoni. Poketoni is not heartbreaking because we met you, but we had a direct distribution account in 2020. Because even back then we were like, we have a website, it would be stupid to not have Pokemon. So we had actually got in with Asmodee, who are like pretty much the only distributor at this side of the Mississippi. And we got in with them, and we had placed our first few orders and bought whatever. And it just so happened to be, it was the 25th anniversary. So naturally they were like, you just got on board, you just don't get 25th anniversry. Sorry, you guys. And we're like, that's fine, no problem. And we just literally focused on the sport. We basically never used it. We literally never used it to a point where it just went dormant, which is one of the biggest fumbles of all time. But we're just like, I'm not sending you emails like to get a few boxes. Leave me alone. Like, we're doing the sports thing, and we had distribution on sports boxes, so we just put all of our time, energy, and money into that. And then it just happened 5 years later, we're opening a shop, and we're like, oh, we need Pokemon. Let's fill out the distribution again. And they're just like, we were like, let's place an order. We didn't even know we had been like removed, which makes sense. Like, you don't place an order in years. You're not sticking around. We're like, oh, let's place an order. We have a shop. And they were just like, no, like you need to fill out a new account form. I was like, oh, no problem. Filling out an account form, kind of oblivious. Kind of like, I have a shop. It should be grand. And they're like, the demand is so big, we're not even looking at accounts anymore. And it's like, right. And then I see, like, it's obviously it's 30th anniversary, and it's like on their books, they're like, these guys showed up in the 25th anniversary.
Big years.
They went closed. 5 years later, the 30th is coming out. Chances are back again. We're not listening to them. So that's a bit devastating, I'm not going to lie, because it's like, in the meantime, it's like, we made the right choice, by the way. Like, we sticking with sport. Like, there's a world we could have done both, but I do think it's like we had to kind of focus in. But it's like, we've opened the shop. Like, we're not chances, I promise. We just need a little bit of Pokemon. But so does pretty much everyone in the world. So it's not a good time, but I do think we'll eventually get back on that train. But yeah, it's
sorry for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thanks for hurting them again.
I'm sorry, but yeah, that's how we met. We met Tony because we had a load of collection boxes that we literally bought them and never put them anywhere. And then like 2 or 3 years later, we just brought them to the Dublin Comic Con, and Tony was like, "Can I just buy like all of these?" Like, I did that at the end of the day as well, which was very nice of him. He said, "Can I just buy all of these?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're not." you have to do whatever you need to do, because that was like the bad stock we bought, and then sure enough, it became the good stock. Do you know what I mean? Like that's classic Pokemon. They're like, buy this terrible list, you're not getting 25th, and then that terrible list became the hottest stuff ever.
Everything now is the hottest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, everything.
Well, yeah. So we it's like, yeah, do we think about it? We think about it all the time. We'd love to be able to kind of plug into it, but it's definitely difficult.
Is what's it like then with the sports stuff? Is it easy? Is it like I don't know if it's just a matter of sign up, get distribution, easy peasy.
It used to be almost like that. There's been a lot of changes and chopping and changing, and it is very much like, if you want to get involved in that, you're going to need a big kind of bankroll to get started, because they're very much, they have all their kind of established players to a degree.
Yeah.
If you have a physical shop, they tend to want to help that still. So yeah, it depends, but it's I'd say it's easier than Pokemon, because Pokemon does feel like you're talking to a wall. You know, you can't get it. But like with sports, the only difference is like there's no like reprinting of product, right? Like we have like kind of artificial scarcity built in. So we'd have like cards that are serialized 1 of 50, 2 of 50, all the way to 50 of 50. So like you cannot reprint the product, because there is a finite amount of printing you can do on a product. So as a result of that, when it because Pokemon could in theory just print 1 million more boxes and kind of satisfy the demand.
Yeah.
Whereas you can't really do that in sports. So it is kind of harder to, in terms of distribution, to get access to those boxes, because there's not like you can just print more. Like they can increase the parallel size, they can, like there's ways to increase it, but they do it a lot more cautiously, because ultimately like one of the big differences between sports and Pokemon is the demand in Pokemon is so much bigger than sports, which is why you see a felt top Pikachu with a 20,000 PSA 10 pop, and it's still a high price. In sports, it's literally like we have to add the serialization to make it kind of matter. There's only 50 of these, and then the demand kind of gets it up to a card like that. So the demand is the kind of big thing. So they are kind of careful to not print too much.
Right.
But yeah, not as hard as Pokemon though, still, even so, which is kind of crazy. You would think Pokemon's a lot easier, because they can just go, I'm just going to print you a few cases because you have a shop, there you go. Well, not the case.
Definitely not the case. Yeah, I think that's been the pain story we've been hearing now for the last almost year and a half now at this point, nearly 2 years, is businesses struggling to get supply, just because and everyone and their dog is like, we need to get Pokemon stuff in, even if we never got it before. We got to get Pokemon in, because we have to. It just makes sense.
Yeah, we hear people come in all the time saying where they've kind of found stuff, and they're like, there's definitely like there's spars that are selling Pokemon cards and stuff like that. So it's a bit mental.
Yeah.
Art and hobby shop, which is more normal than a spar, I would say. But yeah, it's mad. It's mad to get in, and you know yourself, like there's people queuing at 6 a.m. at Smith's to get a release and stuff like that. So it is like, I remember 25th anniversary, I was able to walk into Smith's and be like, there's an ETB, there's a UPC, there you go, you can take it, no problem. Wasn't the same as now. So yeah, it's a tough time. Timing wise, it's not a good time really to do it. But at the same time, the best time was yesterday. The second best time was today to open a shop and to try and get it, because ultimately, eventually, you'll make your way in the front of that metaphorical queue.
Someday I'm sure you will.
Someday we'll get a bit of Pokemon. But again, it's same thing that I've said kind of earlier. It's like I would much rather be here being like, I can't get my hands on it than I cannot sell this stuff. I have so much of it, and it's taking
it's sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. Like we buy all of ours on secondary, and we were kind of terrified at the Pokemon community's reaction to our prices in store. But for the most part, everyone has just been like, I can't get this anywhere. This is great, which is thank God. That was very scary.
This initially, that exact type of thing initially was getting negative reactions. But now it is at the point, as you said, where most people don't have another choice.
Yeah.
And if you want the stuff, it kind of has to happen.
Paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately.
In the shop then, because obviously, as I can see, thousands of booster boxes behind you. Not thousands, but
there's a few.
This might be an edgy question.
It's a tough question. I'm ready.
Would the shop be successful or survive if there was zero Pokemon? Would sports be strong enough to carry the shop?
Genuinely, yes.
Okay.
I would be selling a lot less singles. I would say I would be buying a lot less singles as well.
Right.
But it would be genuinely, it would be, and that was a surprise, almost like a surprise for us. But I would say, if we opened the shop a year ago, the answer probably would have been no.
Okay.
The sport demand has kind of gone mental. So yeah, no, it would. And I think on the flip side, again, without distribution, a lot difficult. But I do think the shop would perfectly run as a Pokemon shop as well. I think singles would have to be a bigger part of it because of how hard it is to get boxes. But I mean, the two together is the perfect kind of combination, obviously. But you know, the likes of Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, Magic, we do get a lot of people looking for those as well. We haven't gone near them, particularly One Piece went crazy, but we haven't gone near them, because it was very much Pokemon occupies such a big space. So it was kind of like let's get as many kind of product, as much Pokemon product, different product as we can, to have a good selection of Pokemon, which is one thing people do compliment us when they come in. Like you're getting like 6 or 7 or 8 different kind of brands or different ETBs as opposed to just 1 or 2 kind of options.
Yeah.
Versus kind of having a little bit of everything. But you know, it would genuinely, like, I don't know if that's like surprising to you guys or not, but it would genuinely work as a sports only shop. There are some products that our website is sold out of, but we have it in shop because we're like, we actually just want this to sell in shop instead of online. Like we could sell it out online, but it's better to have it in the shop selling. So that's the kind of the demand is really, really big for sports, which is bizarre. Not all products, of course. There are some products that are much better suited to online. But there is a huge demand for sports in Ireland now in a way that there hasn't been in the last 12 to 24 months.
That's cool.
Are you getting much B2B requests now for
a lot
sports stuff?
Yeah, having a physical shop adds to your legitimacy. So we're getting it kind of globally, as we always have, like across Europe and stuff. But we have had a few Irish shop owners or soon to be shop owners, and even not even necessarily card shops, like just different types of shops. We've had a few people reach out and a few people sign up. We've created kind of a B2B back end, but it's difficult. We have a lot of people signing up hoping that we can sell our Pokemon at a reasonable price. That is not on the B2B system at all. But yeah, we're getting a lot, and we're trying to figure out how to manage it because we're really good with like European distribution of sports product, but not good at Irish ones at all. So we're thinking of creating our own kind of version of an Irish distribution that has like discounts that we wouldn't necessarily give Europeans and stuff like that, because we really haven't cracked that one yet. And partially because like it's like we've always been able to just sell out anyway, so it's kind of, we're almost Asmodee in that case. It's like, haha, join the queue. But it is something that, like, as it grows, you'd rather be kind of an Asmodee selling kind of big volume all the time to a load of proper businesses versus just trying to sell it yourself kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I have to let the pet out.
No.
What do you do you guys do? Like you have singles, like loose singles in the shop, trade and buy. Is there much action in that in the sports end of things?
Yeah. So it's kind of, I've kind of become in store. I've become the Pokemon buyer, whereas I've kind of forced Jason to be the sports buyer. And mostly because I just get like, it's kind of like, as a shop, it's something we need to work on, but like as a shop, we essentially buy anything and everything. Like when it comes to like Pokemon, we don't buy bulk or EXs, etc. But like in terms of sports, it's like, if you hand me a stack of cards, I will give you an offer on them. Whereas it's like, even if I'm kind of, just so many times I look at a card going, I will probably never be able to sell this, but I kind of feel like it's a function of the shop to buy. So we kind of go like, well, let's find out what the market thinks the value is, and surely, you know, like we can work something out. Whereas with Pokemon, I kind of know when I'm buying it, I'm like, I will 100% sell this. Like, there's not even a doubt in my mind. Even if it's like a bad play and I don't make money on it, it's like, I'm going to sell it. Whereas with some sports cards, I'm like, I may never sell that card again. But there's big, many time over, people in sports are happy to be cashed out. And I do find it's very difficult in Ireland because, again, if you want to sell stuff, your best bet is probably eBay. We've heard a lot of people using Vinted. And it's just harder to sell singles if you're in Ireland, especially if you're not deep in it. You know, if you're not preparing for a card show because you vend at a show. Like if you're just a punter that opens packs, it's very hard to, even if someone's like, that card's worth 100 quid, it's like, right, but who's going to give me that 100 quid? So we do on both ends of the spectrum. We do a lot of buying. It is like, we need to fix it. At the minute, it's like, if you just walk into my shop with a stack of cards, I'll just start pricing it and buying it, which is like not organized. Like, we need, like, we're trying to fix it. At the minute, literally, you just walk in and I just, all right, I'm pricing it. I'm going to buy this card. So yeah, we need to fix it. I don't know if it's like an appointment-based thing, if it's a specific day for buying, we don't know. If it's an online buy list of like only bring in this stuff, we're not sure. But at the minute, we literally just buy anything that comes in the door. Obviously we know what to kind of filter out, but in general, we're kind of buying everything from everyone.
Need to check my little stack of Pokemon cards now and get ready. That's crazy. It's interesting that you said that people in Ireland struggle to sell their singles. That's definitely not the case in Pokemon.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if it's common in the sports side of the hobby, but people on Pokemon do like claim sales or like flash sales on like their Instagram
like
story.
Yeah.
And they put up on their story and you just DM them and claim it. And I mean, I've done it. Ron's done it. Jimmy, I don't know if you've done it from a vendor point of view, but they go quick. Like they go quick.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, Discords, it's very easy to sell cards. Very easy.
Like sometimes I'll buy in a card, and if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see like I'll post a story of just a card I've bought in, and like literally within 1 or 2 hours, someone will come into the shop being like, "Give me it, I want that card." Yeah. Like the Pokemon. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm always happier buying Pokemon because I know this will sell. Like, there's no world where it doesn't sell. Like this is literally just already gone. Which is obviously the market's super hot, so that plays into it. But I'm starting to learn a bit, like when a set is first out, try not to buy it because I've been a few times.
Yeah.
People are like, I've gone to Smith's, I've hit an EDB, I'm going to sell it to you. I look at the prices, I'm like, this is like 300 quid. I'm like, well, I suppose I'll sort it out. And then I have it in the wall and people go, that's not 300 quid anymore, by the way. And I was like, oh God. So I try to avoid the new sets kind of now, unless I really, really like it. But it's like Pokemon, it's way more liquid. Like we just know because we have a couple card walls in, and I know how frequently I'm replacing Pokemon singles. And like one of the good benefits of having the shop is like very rarely does anyone ever really haggle on a price in the shop, which is really nice for us because it's kind of like I'm almost positive like if I buy this for a tenner, I'll make money on it in the shop. And in general, people are like delighted that they're not paying shipping, and they're delighted they can make sure the condition's good, they can make sure it's legit. In some cases, they see a card they like and they can trade in cards to just get the card, so they're delighted they haven't even spent money. But Pokemon singles definitely outdoing sports singles. Partially because I don't know, I just feel like there's just more demand. Like sports, you could literally have anyone from a Luke Littler card to a Messi card. It's like it's very specific. Whereas in Pokemon, like everyone has a favorite Pokemon. The sets are a lot more easier to understand in terms of the biggest chases in each set. So just the demand is a lot bigger, and you're kind of forced into a smaller supply.
Sorry, thank you, Pokebear.
There's a few 151s hidden somewhere there.
If you want to rip them, feel free. No, I'm kidding.
Listen, I always want to rip them.
One thing that, and I've had this chat with my friend because we always buy stuff at card shows and go back and rip it at his place after. One thing I will say about like sports cards, unless it's Ronaldinho or Man United, I'm not going to buy it. Whereas Pokemon, every set, there's going to be 5 or 6 cards I'm into. So do you feel like that plays a factor as well, as that people might only have certain teams that they want, whereas in Pokemon, every set we're kind of chasing?
Like there's benefits to, like, if you have a super rare United card, there is benefits to, like, I think that's why, like, in sports, like, you'll see a lot of super, super high sales. Like, I know we do see that in Pokemon as well, but I think the ceiling is a lot higher on, like, Ascended Heroes comes out and maybe the highest card is €1,000. The next Champions League set that comes out, the highest card is probably 10 to 20 grand just because of that scarcity. But at the same time, it's like there's one of those cards that'll do that. Whereas in Pokemon, it's like multiple people can get the Mega Gengar and it's 1,000 because of the demand. So it is that thing of like the demand is huge. But then again, when you look at it in that way, it's like the supply is not that big. Yep. Like how many in Ascended Heroes, maybe there's a top 5. That's a pretty big one. But like a top 5 chase, if you're kind of going like Mewtwo, the Dragonite, maybe the 2 metals, the Pikachu in the forest, and then maybe the Gengar or the Mewtwo. There's a few, but there's not like 30 of them, right? So say there's 10. It's like all of the Pokemon demand is focused on those 10 cards. Like that's the difference. In sports, it's like there's so many sets, there's so many players, there's so many sports. Like it is completely, it's way more spread out. Whereas Pokemon, even with huge supply and even with sets coming out every month or whatever, the demand is way bigger than the supply. Because ultimately, as much as it does feel like there's so many cards, it's like there's actually probably in the last quarter, maybe there's 100 kind of big chase cards, if even. And it's like that's not a lot for the demand.
There's my friend I was talking about. If he paid hundreds for a box and got a Burma player 101, he'd be fuming. That's the thing. You could pull something that's like extremely rare, like a 101 Burma player. But as a United fan, I don't want
it. Yeah.
So
it's definitely a different game. You know, like the artificial scarcity mixed in adds to, again, the ceiling of the cards. But yeah, that's what. So I do feel like a lot of sports people are going into Pokemon because it is just a little bit easier, and you know, your chase card can't be hit already. Like every time you open a box, you can hit the chase card from that set. You know, if you open a base set from the original, it's like you can still hit a Charizard. It hasn't been pulled already. It's not gone. You know, the Bruno Fernandez 101 can be gone, but it's like anytime you open a base set, you have a chance.
Yeah.
And the demand is so big that if you do get it, you can still realize a big sale for it if you want it to sell.
Yeah, it's on that then. I hate touching on this subject, but we know, and this isn't a secret, and I'm not calling anybody out, but there are a lot of people in Pokemon right now monetarily focused.
Yeah.
Do you find that in the sports side of the hobby?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like Pokemon, at least in Ireland specifically, Pokemon people are collecting a lot more than the sports people. So we're always kind of telling the sports people, like, just buy, like, what do you like? Like, buy what you like. Stop opening boxes, looking for autographs. What are you chasing, like? Whereas, like, in Pokemon, there's so many people. Like, sometimes I have confidence in buying cards because I know I have a few customers that, like, I'm trying to do the master set. Do you have that one? And it's like, boom. And they're genuinely just collecting it. And, like, they may sell it in a few years, but their first goal is to complete the set.
Yeah.
You do not really get that in sports at all. And a lot of people just don't collect, to be honest. It's like they just don't. They love the fun of opening boxes, the thrill of it, the kind of gambling aspect of it. They like the buzz of it. They like ripping packs, but they're kind of doing it aimlessly. And in some cases, and because, to a degree, in fairness, because there is that higher ceiling, right? Like you can, like we had NBA Chrome, right? The basketball came back to tops this year. So NBA Chrome, it's a huge set. The Cooper Flag 1 of 1 from Sapphire of that set did 366,000, right? In a PSA 7. But it's because it was 1 of 1, big rookie card, big basketball player, etc. But it's like, because you have that 300 grand chance in any box that's open, there are people that just literally, they do not care. They don't really care about anything. They're just like, I might hit that card. It's kind of a lottery ticket, and it's like a very expensive lottery ticket at that. But it is like, you don't get that in Pokemon because there is kind of a more controlled top. It's like, yeah, you can open Evolving Skies and try and chase the Moonbryon, but it's like, it's not like 500 grand Moonbryon, you know? So it's not like a bit different. So most people kind of naturally collect. And as well, it's like you can hit, if you wanted to master Evolving Skies, it would be very expensive, but it's not like you literally need to be rich to do that, you know, and in order to attain all of the cards you want to get. So, and that naturally leads into collecting, I think. So in sports, like, there's a lot of people, like, in fairness, some of them are kind of cult towards their teams, you know, like if you're buying team sets and stuff like that. But in general, they're not. If you kind of say, what's your collection? A lot of people are like, what do you mean? Like, I don't really, not really collecting.
What's a collection?
What are you collecting? Like, so like I literally hone in on Italian Andrea Pirlo. Like, that's literally, like, I had to, like, because there's so much and there's so much noise, I had to, like, just lock in. I'm like, Andrea Pirlo, 1 of 1s or 1 of 10s pretty much are all I buy pretty much.
Yeah.
Jason has an Ireland PC, so they have to be in Irish kits, and again, 1 of 1, like to 10 or to 1 of 1. And like he had a great few years when no one else was collecting. He was buying up all these Irish cards. Now he has big time competition, unfortunately for him. But there's just not the same collectible. But again, it's so new here as well. But I do think a lot of the promotion from the top in the sports world has been about the monetary thing. It's like you can't really expect people to not focus on the monetary thing when a lot of the promotion coming from the manufacturers or coming from any of the influencers is this card was pulled and sold for 300,000, and then that's the headline, and then he gets people in. Like obviously we've seen the Illustrator Pikachu, like that gets a lot of people in as well. It's like that's a headline where people now think, what if my cards in my attic are worth 16 million? And it's like, like there's a lot of that. A lot of people come in, even like people in Pokemon do come in and kind of go, I can open this and I could get a card that's like €1,000. Is that right? And it's like, yeah, but that's not. I always say, like,
not the point.
Yeah, especially when they're kind of with kids. It's like, you could take a fraction of the money this box will cost, and you can look at the card wall and just pick something you like, and you probably are going to be better off, even if you are doing it from a monetary point of view. You'll probably be like we had the Obsidian Flames promo Charmander, the one where he's looking out the window. We had that a few months ago, and we bought it. I put it in the wall for €45, I think, and it was sold in like 10 minutes because someone seen it, ran in and bought it. And I bought it in recently, and I have it in the wall now again. I have it back, and it's €85. which is insane. But it's like, again, if you bought a box or a few packs for 45 quid, you probably got wrecked.
Yeah.
You had to just bought that card and held it. If you were genuinely just looking at monetary, you probably also would have just been better off. And if you're not, you still have a nice card. So I always try to tell people to buy singles, but people love, and it's fair. They do love opening packs.
I love opening packs.
Yeah, I love opening packs.
I enjoy, like, so right now I'm trying to master set Destined Rivals and I'm nearly done. And I'm at the point now where it's hard to get Destined Rivals, so I am buying what I need. But I enjoy the card a heck of a lot more knowing I pulled it.
Yeah, fair.
You know, I'm not saying it's a good idea. It's absolutely not.
It's dangerous.
But there's something about, like, I feel like I appreciate my card more because I spent 10 times what the card's worth. I grinded, I worked hard, and I earned that card.
Yeah, you're the first owner, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's your card first, and that's it. But yeah, that's crazy. I don't know why, and it's because I probably don't know the market too well. But I did not think you were going to say that the monetary focus was that big in sports. That's crazy.
So, like, if I say a product drops and it's what, like the big ones is like a 1 of 10 or whatever, and is it just one drop for that set? There's no, obviously, there's no reprints or whatever. But like, is there a way of checking have all them 1 of 10s been pulled?
No, only if they're either appearing on social media or if they get graded, then they'll be in the pop report and you'll kind of know. But because they'll be like separated out on the PSA pop report, for example, that it's like a red refractor and there's 5 of them. So if there's 4 of them on the pop report, there's 1 out there maybe. No, but again, like, yeah, it's so similar, but then it's also very different, like the sports versus the TCG, and we are seeing a lot of people flowing between the two, as I've said, because some people are like tired of getting wrecked. Like we had a Liverpool box come out yesterday. We're gonna have it on Monday. We had a lot of people that are Liverpool fans messaging me like, "Do you have that? Do you have that? Do you have that?" And they will just rip it. Like, it's not like they're trying to resell it. Like, they're gonna open it. They might resell the cards they get if they don't love the players, etc. But like in general, there is collecting going on, but a lot of the time it's very much, is there a huge chase in this and let me get involved with it.
That's wild.
I love getting involved with it anyway.
Yeah,
not Liverpool.
No, not Liverpool. I think I'll still every time I go to a card show, I have to pick up at least like a blaster box of 6 packs of something, and just hope I hit a United card or a Ronaldinho card or some like Brazilian 2000 Duplar, something like that.
Something nice.
Yeah. But I do. There is something about the autos and the serialized numbers that I don't know. I'm like, oh my god, if I hit one of them, like that'd be wild.
It's weird because it's the artificial scarcity that has kind of made it so popular. And I used to always think, like, if Pokemon did that, like, because we seen it at Magic the Gathering with the ring, the Lord of the Rings set, right? They added in the serialization, so it's like if Pokemon did that, it would be the craziest thing ever. But ultimately, it would kind of, if you're a Pokemon, you're like, you figured out a way to print millions of boxes and the value is still there. Why would you tamper that? Why would you tamper with that? It would be insane. Because if people, like, if the Pokemon, if TCG crowd got into a point where they're like, I only want serial numbered Pokemon cards, for example, that'd be a nightmare for like all involved, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, you'd lose again. Cooper Flag 101 is out of Sapphire, and a Sapphire box is like €3,000 for NBA. The Cooper Flag is out of it, and it's like you can open all of the boxes that remain. You can never hit that card. Whereas in Pokemon, you still, one booster box, one pack, you can still hit the Umbreon out of Prismatic, etc., etc. So that's kind of a really, really fun part of Pokemon. That is partially the reason why wax always goes up in value in Pokemon, like sealed product.
Yeah.
Because the demand, I feel like the demand is almost constant, and the supply eventually dries up, and the demand doesn't fall off the same way the supply falls off.
Yeah, because we're not told how many Umbreons are in Prismatic,
no.
Right? So as far as we know, there's still more out there.
And it's like the demand is still a lot bigger than whatever the supply is. Somehow, you know, it's crazy. But it also comes down to collecting. How many people have master sets and are just not putting them ever on the market? Like I know so many people in Pokemon that'll buy a booster box and keep one. So it's like rip one, keep one.
Yeah.
And ultimately, all of that kind of adds into a lot of that giant supply actually just being kind of stored away and not on the market, which obviously helps the market.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing I'll mention then, and what are we at? An hour and 40. Good God. I'll bring up one other thing, and you can talk about it if you want, and then we'll probably take questions from the chat. You stream on Whatnot.
Yep.
What's that like? I mean, I know what it's like to stream on Whatnot, but in terms of what's that like for the business? How important is that to the business? You know, do you guys see it as this is part of our business structure? And how do you generally find Whatnot? Like how big of a deal is it for you?
Yeah, so we do breaks on Whatnot. So like one of the things, as I said there on that NBA Sapphire box, $3,000. Not a lot of people are opening it for $3,000, but if you split it into 20 teams or 30 teams, then people are getting involved at a fraction of the price. So it is super important. Like I would always break soccer, Premier League soccer on Whatnot and split it into 20 teams. So immediately you can get involved in a box for 1/20th of the price in most cases, or if it's pick your team, that's if it's random teams, it's like standardized. But if it's pick your team, if you're a Burnley collector, you can get involved with as many boxes as you want at an absolute bargain price. And if you're a United collector, even though you'll kind of spend a lot on your spot, you will get all the United cards out of boxes at a fraction of the price of the actual box itself. So it's important in that sense, and it also gets good cards into Irish people's hands in the sports world, because if you spend kind of 200 on a hobby box, you're probably going to get regged in most cases. But if you spend 200 in 10 breaks on the United spot, you have a much higher chance of ending up with a really, really good card. And that's kind of what that is. So it kind of just makes it more affordable for people in Ireland, because we break on Whatnot, but we allow people in Ireland to do local pickup in our shop. So they're not paying a shipping fee, they're not paying customs, and they can also store their cards. So if you live in Cork, you could be buying cards off us. We'll store them for months, and then when you eventually want them, you're just paying €6 to have it shipped, and you're not, losing all your money on shipping fees. So it's super important, and we get good clips out of it as well. When we hit big cards, we get to chat in real time with the Whatnot chat, which for most part are crowds of Irish or UK people. So super important, and it also helps us as well, kind of when you're opening the product, because sometimes like if a box comes out and it's 300 quid, you don't really want to open it to test it out because it's like that's so expensive. Whereas if you break it, you're also like okay, and then when you're in your shop, you can kind of go, you know what, this is a really good product. I'd recommend opening it. It's worth it. It's good value. Or on the flip side, this is a terrible box. Do not open it. Stay away. It's really, really bad. I've opened it myself and it's awful. Everyone got wrecked. So it's super important. It's an interesting growing space. Live selling, breaks, etc. Definitely very early in Ireland as well, because most places are kind of set up for America, UK, Germany. We have to do it in Ireland with some workarounds with the north of Ireland to get into that UK kind of space. But super important. But it's early on. It's not the biggest part of our business, far from it. But it's one of the more fun ones. But it's an intense experience, kind of being live and having, again, one box. If you sell one box, you have one shipment. If you break a box into 20 spots, you have 20 shipments. So it is increases the workload, but it makes it much more affordable for people.
And you get to rip packs.
That's it. You get to, by the way, you get to open the bag. It's very fun.
That's why I love box breaks. I just get to open a ton of packs.
Do you like handing off Charizard though?
I have my own Charizard, so I don't mind for other people now. So sorry about that, Ron. Have you ever got requests for Pokemon box breaks?
I did, because I break from here, so I have all the Japanese in the background. I often get people going, "Can we get involved in this? Can we, do this?" I don't know. I feel like rip and ships I would do on Pokemon more than box breaks, but that I wouldn't. It's easy to split kind of the sports boxes for me, but like the Pokemon, I know you can split what the hits are, etc., but I just haven't ever really dived into that. I do think it would be very popular. I'd love to do it as well. We don't even do single shows and whatnot. I think that would be really, really popular as well. Just auctioning off single cards. I'm not against it. It would be fun. It would be fun to rip through. But at the same time, it's like it's that thing. We only sell our Pokemon stock in our shop and to Irish people on our website. So like if you're in Germany and you go on to the Atlantic website, Pokemon doesn't show up. Okay. Because it's like I'm not shipping this to Germany. Like I bought it to have it here in Ireland. I'm not shipping it to Germany. Yeah. I'm paying shipping fees, etc., etc. I do not have margin for shipping fees, unfortunately. We do get a lot of people kind of complaining about that, wanting Pokemon, but it's that thing of like, we did it on Whatnot, we'd just be eating into our own supply, which is not, despite the Japanese box above my head, it's not that big of a supply when you have the shop. So yeah, no, I would consider it, but I'm not I'm not running to. I don't do enough sports breaks to start doing Pokemon breaks. I would say.
Fair, very fair. I think we might be coming to a bit of a natural end, but what we'll do is if people in the chat, I know there's a couple of questions that we missed. So if people in the chat, if you want to start throwing in your questions now, this is a good time to do so. And we'll, if you want to grill Enzo on anything we missed, now is your chance. While
it's on. I cannot run away from a question asked directly to me.
Yeah, no, you can't. You're I've locked you into the live. You can't leave till I dismiss you. While I'm waiting for a couple of questions to come in, when do you start planning the next show?
So we normally give ourselves a couple months to just not be spending our whole life planning card shows, but we'll probably start thinking about dates in mid-April, end of April, thinking about when to lock. Like we normally lock it in way before we announce it being locked in. But yeah, this year we kind of want to start earlier than we normally would. So we'd normally kind of start 6 months out in proper planning kind of phase. I'd like to kind of give myself another couple months because again, we want to get more sponsors probably next year. And they often, especially because most of them have to come to Ireland as opposed to already being here.
Yeah.
They're going to need as much time as they can. And we kind of have something now. After this year gone, we feel like we have a real product that we can kind of present to them and go, look, this is what the show is. This is what it's going to be. We can guarantee 4,000 plus people will be there unless we like put it on the worst day possible and there's a huge event that we didn't know about. But it's that thing of like, we're confident in what we can kind of offer our sponsors, etc. And because people fly in, it is important to give them as much notice as possible. And also, again, we clashed with a Vienna show this year. So the earlier we kind of announce our date, the earlier the other European shows can kind of stay out of our way.
Avoid you.
Yeah, thankfully we're a show to be avoided as opposed to a show that's like that's grand, Dublin's on, doesn't really matter. So that is a good thing. But I like to not think about the show for as many months in the year as I can. It is really
PTSD.
It's just like hosting a big birthday party and then being stressed that no one's going to come or have a good time. Like it is a very public kind of thing. It is like one of the few things where you get like immediate feedback from people. You're not going to keep 5,000 people happy, so no matter what, you're going to hear bad things. And it's like, it is a tough, I much prefer kind of sitting in my office or sitting in a room or sitting in my shop and kind of just being like, this is a safe space.
We have Migs, also as known as Evan. What's a popular football box or product at the moment? Interested in ripping a product for the first time, ideally something from your website?
Yeah, Migs. At the minute, Topps Chrome Premier League, which I actually have next to me and behind me. There is an example. That is a blaster box. I would actually recommend, these are €35. They're a blaster box. I would actually recommend the hanger boxes, which are €15. I think they might be sold out on my website right now, but they will be live. I might even fix it right now.
There's a good opportunity to start making sales.
This is the time to do it. But it literally keeps selling out online because it's so popular and we just leave it in the shop. So it's always in store. No, it's still live. Okay, the hanger box. Hanger box of that, it's €15. You get 2 Pineapple Blast parallels, which are extremely popular, and you have a 50% chance of a numbered card. It's kind of the best bang for your buck for a €15. So you have Premier League Chrome. There's 4 versions of it. So you have hangers for 15, tins for 25, blasters 35, hobby I think is 290. The hanger, despite being the cheapest one, is like the best value. And if any, I don't know, Dino, you might have seen it at the show walking around. Topps had the golden boot at the Dublin card show. That was, do you know what? Some fun behind the scenes there. They shipped that to us in advance. Because again, this is like the trouble of being an Irish kind of show is that like sponsors have to like make their way here, etc. So the easiest thing for them to do was to ship it to us.
Ship you the golden boot.
Yeah, ship us the gold. I don't know if Jason's probably cursing me out. I'm not supposed to talk with it. But they shipped it. They entrusted us with the golden boot. And I may or may not have taken a photo with the golden boot, but I cannot confirm or deny that. Leave it up to yourselves. If you think I could have let that possibility leave me without doing it. But as part of that, it was whoever finishes the Premier League this year as the top scorer and wins that very golden boot, their base cards, so what would be the equivalent of like their commons, which normally would have no value, €1 or €2 max, but probably like 50 cents, and you wouldn't go near them. The base cards will qualify for a buyback program. So your base cards would be worth €15 in-store credit in our shop. So again, if that one for €15, if you hit Haaland base, you're getting your money back kind of thing. If he wins the golden boot, although Thiago is all over him, and it scares me because I've already kind of got a few Haalands off customers being like, right, it's 15, but I'll give you a 10 today. And they're like, I'll do it. Now I'm sitting on a lot of Haaland that he really needs to start scoring goals. But it's a really fun kind of Jeopardy adding thing. And like if you got a parallel of him, it goes up to, I think, €175 trade in. So there's different kind of versions. So that's the only product where that qualifies for. So I would say Premier League Chrome, and I would recommend, especially if it's your first one, Hanger, like €15, kind of harmless amount of money to be spending to dip your toe in, especially if it's your first one.
Yeah, the blaster boxes, as I said, I always grab them at a show. It's a decent price. You get 6 packs. They'd be my go-to. Voltorb, a vendor you might recognize. Would Atlantic Collectables Card Shop look at having TCG events?
So I suppose, breaking news I can add here.
Boy.
So we do have, I don't know, Jimmy, you've been to the shop, have you? Yeah, maybe.
No, I haven't, but Darren has. Yeah.
Okay. Upstairs, we do have an upstairs portion of the shop that we only open for events. So we've only had it open twice so far since opening, which was our opening event, and then we did a rip night where we had Niall Quinn in the shop, which was super fun. But we have it upstairs, and it is set up for trade nights / organized play, and we are officially on the Pokemon Play website as a destination as of recently. So if you go on to Pokemon Play, we pop up. So are we looking to do regular events? We pretty much have to, I think, now. I think it's part of the contract. So we're gonna, thank you very much. So we got that done. We're on the website. I think one of maybe 4 Dublin locations now. So yeah, we're on that. We're going to need to do a lot of research to figure out exactly how to organize and run that. But apparently, we're being sent a load of free promotional packs and stuff to support with TCG events. So yes, to that, I would say Pokemon events more so than TCG. Just to kind of specify that, I don't think we're quite at the Magic the Gathering stage as of yet, but definitely in the future. But we have the event space for that. Basically, long story short, we can fit
cool.
30 people seated, comfortably seated, to play. So we will have that operational, but it'll be a few months yet.
Interesting. Not the answer I was expecting. I like to hear it. I love
No, I was not expecting that.
No,
breaking news. There you go.
No, get your
breaking news.
We'll clip that and share it.
Yeah, there you go.
Questions still coming in. We got PokePair. Biggest challenge with running a physical store. We're tempted, but feel it's a massive commitment compared to pure online. Can't wait to watch this as you miss most of it. Sorry, guys. You're good.
It is. Yeah. So we've been running our business for 6 years now, and it is like for 5.5 of those years we had the greatest schedule of all time. So it very much changes that. It is tough. Like, it's definitely something to think about prior to doing. It's definitely worth doing. But it's definitely challenging. The biggest challenge, I mean, it's a long-term commitment in most cases, right? If you're going to do it, you're doing it for probably minimum 5 years. You're kind of thinking in those kind of terms. And I suppose the biggest challenge is, for me anyway, has been staffing it, right? So it's like we have this kind of beautiful shop, and we have this kind of beautiful baby of a business that we have, and it's kind of like we're in there. Like, the customers know us. We're the ones buying, which is super tough. Kind of like, we have a policy of kind of like every day, which we may have to change, but every day you can sell to us. But it's like, if I want to hire staff that know about the sports side and the Pokemon side, and I want to be able to kind of walk away from the shop, they need to know how to buy, and they need, there's lots. That's kind of the one difference between like a normal shop. Right? It's a lot of trust of like not getting your mates in saying, I thought the Pikachus were real that my mate told me. I cashed him out. He's gone back to Canada. So that's super, super tough. But you also sell things you would never really sell online. And again, as much as I do complain about buying sometimes the buying is one of the more profitable. Like, you can have a day where it's like, don't even sell that much in store, but you bought a card and got a great deal on like a stack of cards. Like, I actually have one here that I'll pull out that I bought. This was a fascinating one. Someone came in with a load of Pokemon cards. I only have one of them. All PSA 10, and he got, I think he got around 2,500 store credit. He wanted store credit, and he wanted them for basketball boxes. So that was like a super fun. He's like high end, whatever. But this was one of the ones I bought, from that stack. See if I can.
Ooh.
Don't know how clear it is.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a PSA 10, PSA 10 Gentleman Pikachu.
That's class.
Which was bought in. I have the original sticker on the back of it. You probably can't see it, I'm sorry, but bought in for €1,000, and that was like the valuation price at the time, and I think we probably did 85% maybe, so say like 850, 900 maybe, and I think the current value is around 1,300 on that, and that was bought just before Christmas. But like, you can't really account for that. Like, if I didn't have a shop, I wouldn't have got that card, and I think it's a great card, but it's like I wouldn't have got that. And there is like if you're thinking purely business, like you can then sell that card and you're making money you wouldn't have necessarily made without a shop. It does add a lot of legitimacy to you. There is various other things you can start to implement by having it, but it is without a doubt a big commitment. But it is, yeah. I think it's particularly down south. Like I feel like the north, there's definitely a good few shops, but I feel like there's not that many shops. Period in Ireland. You know, like even in the UK, because sports card shops are not that popular at all. But even in the UK, there's so many Pokemon card shops and there's sports shops popping up.
Yeah.
But in Ireland, I feel like there's not even that many Pokemon shops. Which again makes sense with how hard it is to get product, etc., etc. But yeah, it's a big commitment. It's definitely the biggest kind of challenge that we've had, and it's something that we're probably going to have to put a lot more finance into in terms of hiring staff to, because like we're going to America in the start of April and we haven't even figured out who's in the shop, you know. So it's like it is, because we used to be on the road all the time going to shows, and now it's like, we're going to need to figure this out. But yeah, the expertise in both Pokemon and sports and in buying are kind of the biggest challenges for hiring people.
We have King Dola in with, what percentage do you buy Pokemon sealed? And is there sealed you wouldn't take in? For example, all booster boxes worth a couple of $100,000 or whatever.
So the percentage, it depends on what we're buying, but in general, we would have probably 85% on trade and 80% cash in general, depending on what it is.
That's good.
For sealed, like if you brought in an Evolving Skies ETB, I'd be at like 90%. You know, like that's like trade in probably. But it depends. Like I much prefer buying wax or seal product. The only thing I wouldn't buy in is loose packs. That's the only thing we don't buy.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I wouldn't.
So even if you had vintage loose packs, like I'm not dealing with it. You know, I'm not like, even if it's, in fairness, if someone came in as this is a loose pack and it's heavy, like I'm like, I don't care. Like that's the only thing. Like we have pack dispensers, which is like, again, physical shop, having a pack dispenser is like a game changer for even sports, entertainment, everything, because you're making it a lot cheaper and it's just a pack of fun. But the main thing with that is like we know where all the packs came from. And so we know there is still that chance of hitting a good card. Like there's no tampering. It came from seal product. It came from whatever we have.
Sure.
So the only thing we don't buy is that. This King Dola, if you have these old booster boxes you're talking about, certainly make your way in. I don't think, there's, again, the percentage, like if you had something, let's say for example for $100,000, right, the percentage can easily be 90% because ultimately there's a $10,000 kind of buffer there, right? Like you could be at 95%, it's $5,000. It depends on what you're doing. But strong percentages on sealed. We have a few fun sealed bought in. We did buy in 2 Evolving Skies ETBs, which are probably my favorite sealed that I've got. We haven't got that much fun sealed in. We had a Fusion Strike. So someone came in with a half a booster box of Fusion Strikes, and it was so beautiful. And I said, we have to put it in the pack dispenser. Like, let's just do it instead of keeping it sealed. And we did it, put it in the pack dispenser. And although I'm pretty sure everyone that opened a pack got wrecked because it's apparently such a hard set to hit in. It was really fun.
A load of the big hits were robbed.
Oh, really?
True,
All right, that's news to me. That's news to me.
Load of the big hits were
just never made it. Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, that was like rough, but like we love buying sealed. Like we buy so many single cards, we don't get that much sealed in. And I do think if you have sealed, let's say that's worth $3,000 or $4,000. It is kind of nicer for you as a seller to be able to walk into a physical shop to get that deal done versus doing it online or even meeting someone somewhere in Dublin or Ireland. You know, having a physical shop, you can kind of walk in, you're totally safe. You know, we're not going to scam you and you pack up our shop and disappear.
Yeah.
So there is that benefit. We love, if you have anything, like if you're just curious, great. But if you genuinely have stuff that you would like to potentially sell, we're buyers for sure.
It's Liverpool. I don't want to discuss it, but just because I like Evan, I'll throw it up there.
Our card wall changes almost every single day. We definitely have some. Whether we have them out on the wall or not, I'm unsure. I literally have completely converted. I look after all of the Pokemon singles, and I have Jason on all the sports. But we definitely do have some. But yeah, we don't sell cards online or anything anymore. Like we just have it. It's kind of lucky dip. Come into the shop, and we may have it, we may not. We don't. Like sometimes we throw it on our story or whatever. We'll do a little video of the card wall, but in general, it's kind of like a fun element of the shop is like you come in and you might find a card that you really, really want, and we're not really, because a lot of cards you could just sell online and the shop would have no cards in it, you know. So we'd rather just kind of you come in, you're there, you might buy some sleeves or top loaders or a pack or whatever. It's kind of come in, and you get what you want if it's there.
This one, I mean, I don't want you to give all your details, but have you I mean, I'm sure you're aware of what's been happening
100%.
with TCG specifically. Is this something that you guys have thought of?
Yeah,
You
so
know?
super scary element of having a shop. Part of the reason why we don't want to really necessarily have one in like city center, right? You'd immediately need a security man on the door, and you'd need all sorts.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're in a really safe space. We have the biggest CCTV cameras ever. We've done as much as we could possibly do. Most of our stuff is behind glass as well, so it kind of adds. But yeah, we have insurance, obviously, which is probably the most important thing, because ultimately it's like once you're kind of covered from an insurance point of view, like removes a lot of your risk. Most things are behind glass. We do have security systems set up, and we're in like at night, we're in like a gated and alarmed community as well inside where we are. So it's like there's multiple layers of that, but it is like I was honestly like, peek behind the scenes again, like Dublin Card Show, I was kind of scared because I was like, it's the first year we have a physical shop, and anyone that's diabolical enough to really think about it is like, obviously we're kind of all at the show. This is like we're all very, very busy. So yeah, we may even like next year kind of have someone just at the shop during the show just to as a precaution, because it is something that is, again, you can't promote 16 million euro sales, you can't promote 3 grand boxes and stuff like that, and expect to not be a target. At some point, I actually heard, I think 1 or 2 people had something stolen at the show this year as well. So that's something we had heard, and yeah, so that is something next year we're going to add extra layers as much as we can, and mostly display cases are going to help you there. I think everything that there was 2 instances that I knew about, but it was cards that were not in display cases, and that was actually, I think it was more, I think they were both sports vendors as well. So that's an interesting thing as well, that like a lot of the sports crowd are brand new, and there is definitely a negative crowd mixed in as well. So that's something, again, I think all of us, especially if you're vending and you have inventory like that is. I remember being at the Emerald show, and someone next to us had I think a half booster box stolen, got it back. I think Tony might have had a video out as well where something was stolen. So that there is that element. In some cases, it's kind of kids that are not that malicious, but misbehaved. But in some cases, definitely, we see it in America, we see it in the UK, we see shops being smashed into, broken into. I hope to never have to replace any of our glass. Like I'm kind of hoping. At the minute, it's been super pleasant, super friendly, but sadly enough, I'm kind of heads on a swivel, and you are a little bit concerned and scared about that. But yeah, it's definitely a big thing, and it's kind of horrible because like there's not that many shops in the country, and you want to do it, and there's so much kind of risk and finance involved in setting it up. And again, you want a shop that has stock in it because people want to come in and have variety, etc. But then on the flip side, you want to protect yourself and kind of. So yeah, it is popping up. Hopefully, so far it's been not good in Ireland, but I think as the industry grows and as awareness grows, it will probably become a bigger problem.
But you are as prepared as you can be at the moment.
Yeah.
Good. So King Dola, whatever your plans were, don't. Guys, I think that's pretty much all the questions. We might wrap it up there. Once again, we always we try and keep to an hour this time. Gone over 2 hours again. But I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Enzo. First time I've had a proper conversation with yourself.
Yep.
I think you probably chat to Jimmy a couple times before at the shows, and I know it's your first time meeting Ron. So I had an absolute blast. So thank you very much for coming on and giving us 2 hours of your time.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Great having you on, man. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. Hopefully next time you are in Dublin, you'll be able to make your way into a shop that the glass is still.
It's on the bucket list. It's on the bucket list.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to go check out the Yu-Gi-Oh tables upstairs.
Okay, we'll wrap it up. Enzo, if you want to just hang on after, we'll just catch up really quick in the room after. Thank you again, as always, to my beautiful co-hosts, Jimmy of Kellyog's Cards and Ron of Ron Collects. And as always, amazing chat, as always, with your questions, your comments, your wonderful jokes and cheeky comments. I appreciate you all. Thank you for everything, and we'll see you all in the next one.